All right, so just for clarification, I have 1, 2, 4, and 9 on the pull list. Can I get a motion?
Mr. Mayor, before you do that, I just want to put on the record that item number C, item number 3, I just found out that the entity that we would be contracting with may have a problem with the contract. And so I just want you all to know this is the document that we approve as a city, is legal. And so if it goes through, this is the document we're approving, but I just wanted to make it clear that we just found out that the entity may have a problem with the contract, just so you know. Thank you. With one provision is what I was told today.
Okay, so does that mean, Madam Attorney, that we need to pull it and keep it open-ended just in case to give you the leeway to negotiate that contract? 'Cause you said it's only one provision.
You all could do that, yes. But the provision that is being contested is a provision that you cannot legally do anything about. It has to do with indemnity. And as a municipality, we cannot legally have a private entity, indemnify a private entity. So that's what the issue is. But you can pull it and certainly you can leave it open, but I just want you to know that's legally on this particular issue, you don't have a lot of leeway to do anything about it if they disagree with it.
Okay, so we'll pull number 3 as well. Okay, can I get a motion?
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Kelly?
can we, since it's actually started your item, you're gonna pull it or defer it?
We're gonna pull it.
Just gonna pull it for
Yes, sir,
discussion?
for discussion.
Okay,
All right, can I get a motion?
move it.
Moved by Commissioner Kelly, second by Commissioner Williams. Can we make a vote on the consent agenda? Madam Clerk?
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes,
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner Bass.
Yes.
Mayor Taylor,
Yes.
motion passes 5-0.
All right. Can we approve tonight's agenda?
Move it.
Moved by Dr. Bass, second by Commissioner Kelly. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Commissioner Kelly,
yes.
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Mayor Taylor,
Yes.
motion passes 5-0.
Okay, can we have the approval of the minutes for the workshop meeting minutes, April 19th, 2023?
Move it.
Moved by Commissioner Kelly,
Second.
second by Vice Mayor. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly.
Yes.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Madam Clerk, do we have any District 1 or District 2 County Commission reports for tonight?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, and I know we have one public presentation from MC Harry and Associates. Madam Manager, do we still have another presentation from the management office? Not tonight. Okay, so we're gonna open up the floor to MC Harry and Associates. You have the floor. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. I think I'm on. Am I on?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Things a little bit big. My name is Lourdes Solera, and can you make it bigger? Are you working on that? Got it. Thank you. My name is Lourdes Solera, and I'm an architect and principal at MC Harry and Associates. Can you guys see the screen somewhere? I think perfect. Okay, and I'm here to give you a little bit of a project review of the restoration and rehabilitation of the historic Opa-locka City Hall. Next slide. Oh, there we go. I didn't know it was animated. So we have been in practice. MC Harry and Associates been providing services to public agencies for the last 65 plus years. So 90% of our work is public agencies. So we are very familiar with the type of work that's required for all public agencies. Next slide. And we do a lot also of historic restoration work. This is just a few projects we have done for the last 40 plus years. This is the historic Dade County County Courthouse downtown. We've done the exterior work. We've done the lobbies. We've done the courthouse improvements. We've done work for the city of Coral Gables at the Merrick House, the Miracle Theater, the Venetian Pool at the city of Miami. We've done Fire Station number 2, Dorsey. And next slide, we've also done work at Vizcaya Museum and Gardens that belongs to the county. We took out the old skylight and put in the new, which is those images you see on the top. And then we're now working on updating the village, which is the property adjacent to the old science museum that belongs to Vizcaya. We're bringing it back so that the public can use it. So we're very familiar and comfortable with what historic restoration work is. Next slide. So just a little summary of the project and its life. We were first hired back in March of 2013 after a public advertisement by the city of Opa-locka for AE services. So we were selected to provide what we called a phase 1 assessment of what was the condition of the building, what are the things needed to be done, how do we bring it up to current code, as well as implementing potential uses for it. The city of Opa-locka had moved out of that facility as their offices, I think the year before, give or take. So this was an opportunity for the city to do that. In April of 2013, we issued our first report, an assessment, 2-volume assessment of what we thought the recommendations and how to phase it. Next slide. So the phase 1 project was submitted to say, basically, how do we keep the building from continuing to be degrading due to old and poor water protection intrusions. And so that was the phase 1. And phase 2, we submitted the drawings, and a contractor is selected in early 2014, Grace Naim Uden, to do that first phase, which was really remove all of the mold and mildew, all of the wood that was damaged, to really stabilize the facility. We issued drawings by the end of 2014. Next slide. And the projects was put out to bid, and bids came in early 2015. The contractor again was Grace and Naim Uden as the lowest bidder at 1.1 million, and we had some change orders, 1.9, I'm sorry, and for a final cost of 2.2 million, give or take. In June of 2016, there was challenges by the city of Opa-locka to make payments to the contractor. So by August of 2016, the contractor had submitted their last official pay application. And by then they had performed about $1.7 million worth of work, and there was about 600+ million left to complete the work. They had put in the new windows, roof, all those kind of things on it. Throughout September, because there was no payment by the city of Opa-locka, once they went into default, the contractor basically closed the building, boarded it up as best as they could, but they really didn't board it. They just closed it and tried to negotiate, next slide, with the city for the following few years to try to get paid for what was due to them. They were interested in finishing the project. One of the principals at the construction company had really fallen in love with the building, and he really wanted to restore it. Unfortunately, the city administration at the time was not able to come to any conclusion as to how to pay what was owed to them. The building still had been not completely secured. The tower, the big long tower that you have, the top had been removed throughout our initial phase of the project, and I have some pictures that you'll see in a minute. That was left open. So from September 2016, water is pretty much pouring into the facility, and you guys know when you have a leak anywhere, water just travels everywhere. So unfortunately, because there was no resolution, they sued the city to get paid. Their last payment was roughly June of 2019. In September 2019, the city did hire one of your contractors to at least put a top on it. Unfortunately, in 2017, we had Hurricane Irma. So, rain has been coming into this building for 2.5+ years until it was closed in. Next slide. In September of 2020, the city contacted us to see if we could do a new assessment. What do we need to do to finish this project so that it can be the jewel that it is for the city of Opa-locka, so you can use it? And we were issued a notice to proceed to do this assessment. Again, we have to come back in and see what is, after 2.5 years of being open to the element, plus almost 6 years worth of no work, what can be saved, what can be done, what needs to be done. We did an initial report that we submitted to the city in November of 2021. We were then asked in April of 22 to provide a fee proposal to the interim city manager was hired in early 2022, and then we were asked to provide a fee proposal to document what is it that we need to do, finish the project. We finished documents and send them to the city by the end of November 22, and the project was put out to bid. Next slide. In February of 2023, bids came in March 2nd of 2023. 2 bids came in, although there was 8 different firms that had walked the site. Only 2 bidders submitted. There's a variety of reasons, everything from being busy to just the nature of the type of work. Next slide. So now here's just some imagery. I want to remind everybody what things look like. This was when we arrived in about August of 2012, when this project was first put out as advertisement for qualifications. So this is what the building looked like at the time. Next slide. When we started our assessment in 2013, you can see in the top slide, the top 2 images on your left, that is the stair tower. The stair that takes you up to the top of the tower is completely corroded. In fact, when we got there, the whole top was, there was like a whole bee thing up there. I mean, I have more pictures and horror stories that you probably want to hear or see about, but the condition of the building needed to be obviously taken care of. Next slide. So once we started to work on the project, after the phase 1 project was submitted, we start to clear out everything that was damaged. And you can see the image on the left. That is the top of the big tall tower. That's when it was brought down by a crane, and you can see it was completely rusted. It could not be reused, so we had to make a new one. Next slide. And you can see the construction work being done. We put in all new clay tile roofs. We started to deal with securing the installation of impact windows, fixing the stucco, trying to get the waterproofing done on the project. Next slide. You can see, the work starts to proceed. You can see in the bottom 2 images on the left, that's the new cab that was rebuilt at the shop side to replicate the old one. You can see the courtyard has been cleared out, and you see the structure is all exposed, ready for finishes. Next slide. And then of course you can see the installation. This is more recent pictures, just really from September of last year. The image on the left, that is the new stair that we put up to the top of the tower, which is in okay shape, but all the bottom wood that is underneath is the bathroom, because it's sat open for 2+ years. That all has to be replaced and removed. And there's a lot of stuff that need to be redone. The roofing that was done back in 2015 did not really meet our approval. We could have negotiated at the time with the construction to fix it or put in a new one, but obviously now it needs to be completely removed and a whole brand new roofing membrane put on. The tile roof is fine, but the flat portions of the roofs and the domes were never completed. Next slide. And so this is, as you can see on the image on the left, vegetation's come back to grow. That little landing is that little landing before you go to that exterior stair that you have in the courtyard. You can see that a lot of mildew and moisture is on the exterior of the wall and the stucco. The image on the top is the front inside towers of the property, but you can see inside there's still actually a lot viable and a lot in good condition. You see that happens to be what would have been offices on the 2nd floor. Next slide. And these are just images of the middle of the picture is the old commission area that has been, is ready to be, finished and restored. The image on the left is the wood stairs that go all the way to the top that need to now be improved even more, because again, any building that you don't maintain and it sits empty for a long time really does not do well. Next slide. So the scope of the project of our drawings includes pretty much a brand new roof, putting in all the cap to the tower that's sitting in the courtyard. You see it if you drive by there, you see it, putting it back there. That has to get put on a crane and lifted and put on the top. Put all new finishes. Installation has been installed, but some of it probably needs to be replaced just in areas, but not a whole lot. There's no finishes, so we'll put all new finishes. None of the utilities were finished, so we need to finish all the electrical, mechanical. The building originally had fire sprinklers, so we have to bring that up to code. Finish the elevator. Again, that's all began but didn't really quite finish, so to speak. Put in all new lights, a brand new roof. Do you totally need a brand new roof? That's the first thing that we'll do, and obviously remove all of the damaged wood that was either not removed the first time around or that now has been damaged due to being vacant and empty to the elements for quite a few years. Next slide. And so these are just images. This is a model that we did several years ago. Obviously, once the project is finished, and you can just click on them one after the other, it will be painted. The domes will be, next slide, the domes will be waterproofed again. We in fact have in our drawings to introduce back to the tower. You see the little tower on the left that's kind of in the front, which is a rectangular cube. I'm going to call it that. It's not a cube, but a rectangular piece. That green section originally called for tiles, sort of to that Moorish element. The original drawings, we have copies of the original drawings. The University of Miami had the original drawings from the project. So we used a lot of those drawings to inform the kind of restoration rehabilitation work that we gave to this project. Next slide, because obviously we want to bring this building back to its glory. It's a wonderful jewel in Miami-Dade County, and is very much what the city of Opa-locka represents, has for many years, and we would love to see it finished. Next slide. We have been at this for a little bit longer than I'd care to think of. As I did this time like today, I was like, something I knew mentally, but I had never actually written down. And I think this might be the last slide. Next slide. And then this is just a model again of the project, which of course, we'll finish for you and you hopefully can program it. One of the original phasing for our project 13 years ago was, how do we give a purpose? Any building needs a purpose. We've unfortunately done work where we've restored a building, but the city has not had a function, and it's very challenging for me to see a wonderful space not being utilized for what it's intended for. I think this would be a great facility for events, for all kinds of things on it. We just need to finish it and show it to the county. A lot of people come to see this building, and it's, I'm waiting anxiously for 10 plus years. I didn't want to say that out loud in public. Do you have any questions?
Okay, so we're gonna open up the floor for Miss Lourdes
Yes, that's right.
for questions. Any questions for Miss Lourdes?
Thank you so much for being
Commissioner
here.
Williams?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh.
Yes, I'm sorry.
No, no.
Oh.
I didn't. Thank you again for being here. And we know what we want to do is get this project. This has been at the forefront of all of our top priority list or bucket list, I would say, to get done. My question, I think I'm a little confused, and I don't know if the manager can, between your company and the item that's on the agenda, what's the difference?
Okay, I'm the architect.
Okay.
So any project, you design it, you're the owner, I'm the architect. So I design it, I tell them what to do,
Got it.
and I
Okay.
represent you. So I'm also your owner's rep. when you hire the contractor, they're the ones that, put it up. And then I protect your interests, make sure
Okay.
you get what you want for the price that you want to get it for. And I, represent you and make sure that it's billed to what the drawings call for.
Okay.
So
So-
my relationship legally is with you. And then you have
Yes.
the relationship with them, and I don't have a legal relationship with the contract,
I got
if
it.
that makes any sense.
No, it does. Thank you so much. So I've heard you mention in your presentation about the dome in 2015. And I know that dome was connected to the company that is on the agenda. So that dome from, I believe what you said was never completed.
Okay, so you see this image right there?
Okay,
The domes are the round pinkish colored things.
yes.
You see the tall vertical piece? That's a
Mhm.
tower that goes all the way up 80 feet up in the air. That is really, as you well know, this was a sales center for Curtis, and that was part of selling this
Yeah.
idea. So it was just kind of, used for, I'm going to call it what it is, marketing, right? So that top piece that you see there on your image was removed, and that's the piece that was falling apart. That's sitting in the courtyard. When you drive by, you see it.
Yes.
So that top, that sits on top of a concrete. That whole tower is a poured in place concrete, structure. That top, and then that stair that wraps up, that it's up there, took you there to this, minute, if you ever see it, and you can see that, it's tiny little, you can walk outside, but it's not a whole lot of room. So that piece was the one that was never put in. The contractor that I believe is in your item who closed it is the same contractor. That was something that the
Got
city
it.
picked,
Yep.
and so
course.
he's invested because he, like the original contractor, has
Okay.
fallen in love with the building and wants to get it finished.
And then I know you mentioned, I guess I wanted to go back to, there's no page number. So there's a photo. It looks like it's the dome, but there's like stucco around it.
Okay, if you lift up the thing, I can kind of guess.
Oh, no, I will. I'm just looking. for
Well, if
it
you
real
find it,
quick.
then I can start
Okay.
going back. If you don't mind.
Here it is right here. Like this, the
Okay, if
white,
you go back
kind
some
of a
more.
patchy work.
Wait,
What?
no, the other direction.
So was that?
Okay, the image on the left is the one you're talking about?
Yes.
That is the dome. If you face City Hall
Mhm.
from here, you're standing here on Fisherman Street. If you face City Hall, that is the dome on the left.
Yeah.
None of those domes are occupiable spaces. They literally were rebuilt. This building was renovated, restored sometime in the early 80s. And those domes were brought back. A couple of them had there's pictures of the 1960s, I think, that has a couple of domes missing. So in the 80s, when it was redone by, and I'm blanking out the name of the architecture firm, they brought them back in. So here's the roofing membrane. They build this wood dome right on top of it. So none of those domes are occupiable spaces. They're just
Of
part of your
course.
look.
Yeah.
Correct. So we have to waterproof them. Fortunately, because there's roofing membrane here and the dome slips on top, you have almost 2 levels of water protection. The thing that covers this plus the one that's already here. Originally, it was probably different. It was probably sitting straight on the deck and then the roofing went up. But obviously, since the domes were removed in the 60s, then when they brought it back, you weren't going to change the structure.
Okay. So this wasn't when you mentioned remove.
No,
in the
it is.
water.
Okay, you see on the image, you see that vertical piece that sticks out in the little picture?
Yes,
That is the bottom half of that tower as it goes up.
got it. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
No problem. Any other questions? Hearing none. Bass said the only thing she want to do is just see the building done.
Yes, sir, I
And
do.
I am in total agreement, and I thank you for your patience. I know you said it's been 10 long years,
10 long years.
but hopefully by the end of this year, that building will be fully restored to its beauty and glory.
Yes.
So
that's
thank you
okay.
again for your
Thank
hard
you.
work
Thank-
and
Thank you.
dedication and patience.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, citizens, we're gonna go into our citizens forum. Madam Clerk, can you please read for the record the process for citizens forum?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening. City of Opa-locka Commission meetings are held in person at the Opa-locka Municipal Complex, City Commission Chambers, 780 Fisherman Street, 3rd floor, Opa-locka, Florida. Members of the public wishing to address the commission may do so in person or virtually. Those persons wishing to participate virtually should register prior to the scheduled meeting time on the city's website at www.opalockafl.gov. When speaking before the commission, please make sure to give your full name and address for the record. There is a 3-minute time limit for public comments. Please adhere to the decorum policy, which is part of the commission meeting agenda. City commission meetings are aired through live stream at www.youtube.com/user/City of Opa-locka. And Mr. Mayor, we do have one virtual public comment, Ms. Tarani Mitchell.
Okay, citizens forum is open. Mr. Ronnie Mitchell, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Commission, Vice Mayor. I wanted to bring back some information that I came before the commission with previously. And it's several items that I want to discuss tonight regarding the funds for community events that was put aside, several commission meetings. It was about maybe, I think, 50,000 or whatever for some community events. I hadn't heard anything else about the money that was put aside, so I would like to get some information on what happened to those funds that were put aside. Also ask about the explorers again, because I had a young man that came up to me. I hadn't seen in a while, but he had been interested for a while and told me he thought that they were going to bring it back. And I told him, well, I did too. So I told him I was going to check into it again because our kids is our future. And you have the kids in the neighborhood that want to do things, but there's nothing available for the children in the city of Opa-locka. We need to get all these parks open, and we need to have more events besides football and cheer. The parks need to be open year round with events year round so our kids can have something to do in our city besides football and cheer. Another thing I wanted to mention also is I'm seeing on the agenda tonight about the advertising for mayor commission and events. This was brought forth and passed before previously about the flyers that be sent out for community events or events that are being held by mayor commission. And obviously no one, kept up with doing the protocol that was passed to say mayor commission. Everybody is still doing their own flyers. My thing of it is, if you're going to host something and you wanted to say mayor commission, everybody needs to show up. Not because it's not your event, you're not show, or you might be mad with this one and that one. We all need to come together. So instead of saying mayor and commission and you not show, it might as well be the hosting party's flyer if you're not going to show up. And one last thing, we need information for senior assistants with painting their homes and so forth. On several occasions, that has been brought up about monies being available to assist with painting and ramps and so forth. I would get cards, call me this day, call me tomorrow. I don't get phone calls back or the persons don't answer the phone. We need to try to help our citizens because they're all not financially stable. So if we need to go out and speak with our seniors to see what needs to be done, and I bring this information back to you guys to let them know, and we need to go for some funds, that's what we need to do. And also Juneteenth is coming. We need to do better than we did last year. We didn't have a do-over. We shouldn't have had to have a do-over. So let's get our priorities together, have something for our community, and advertise it in a nick of time Start advertising now. I hope we don't wait till the last minute. Advertise now so we can get it out and get it to the community. I also want to have information on the PR firm because we're saying we have one, but they're still using social media. We need to physically get information out to our community outside social media. Thank you.
No problem, Ms. Mitchell. Thank you. We heard you loud and clear. Citizens Forum is still open. Citizens Forum is still open.
Felton Brown, 1151 Jan Avenue. I want to talk about the historic City Hall being restored. So I know when I was a kid, like that's one of the places that we really enjoyed. Like we ran around that place and we enjoyed going to visit the commissioners and the mayors there and going to different engagements. And you know, it was almost like being a part of Aladdin, right? So I was wondering now, because I'm in a whole different situation, and I'm sure there are some other citizens in our community that are also disabled. So I'm wondering that is their plan also to get the building up to ADA code, meaning opening up the doors? Because I remember as a kid, it was really tight, right? The elevator was really small and really tight. So I was wondering, was that a part of the plan to make sure that the disabled, those in wheelchairs, can go into City Hall and move around, you know, without any hassle?
Citizens Forum is still open.
Good evening, Audrey Dominguez, 1147 Jan Avenue. Recently, one of the seniors on the move brought to my attention regarding water that filtrates inside the bus. It's the old bus, the white bus. She says that when she goes inside and sits down, the water filtrates, and when she sits down, her pants get wet. She actually gave me a bag, but I forgot it. But she says, I carry this every time I get on the bus. So I would appreciate if someone would look into this. I would also like to address the comments that were made on the civil service workshop, which was a commissioner. She stated the elephant in the room. You stated that it would have been nice to have the members of the city service board at the workshop. Well, first of all, I was present. Second, the chair and former commissioner, John Riley, called that he was running late because of a family emergency. The other board member was out sick. You would have known that had you arrived on time. You also added, you don't see the knowledge necessary for the board, for the boards of this magnitude from those that are part of the board. I take offense when you say I'm not knowledgeable or other board members to be part of this board. My knowledge and experience surpasses any degree. And I want to remind you that this is a volunteer board. I was appointed. It is clear that you and the other commissioners are not interested in appointing anyone or have this board move forward. I want to tell you that my degree is in CS. It's called common sense. I also, on the last commissioners meeting, there was a board appointment of Ms. Christina Banks. She was appointed to the Community Relations Activity Board. The comment and facial expression as a former mayor was disrespectful. You rolled your eyes, stated, oh, well, I guess. Not only is she a resident, she's also a senior, and you don't have to like her, but you do have to respect her.
Citizens Forum is still open.
Good evening, Commission. I come to you this evening, again, I'm sorry, 14460 Northwest 22nd Avenue.
Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am. That's fine.
I'm sorry. My name is Latrice Franklin, 14460 Northwest 22nd Avenue, apartment 18. That's the home I came to in 1971. 13440 Aswan Road. That's the home I grew up in until I was at the age of 12 years old. 815 Shira Avenue is my current home, and it's been the home that I was at since that time. I am Opa-locka. So I was, and I can tell you that I grew up in that city hall that we were just talking about. I was just like you. I ran around that city hall. I have been on Ingram Park, Siegel Park, and Shabandi Park. I have been a cheerleader for the city of Opa-locka, and I've also played softball for the city of Opa-locka. Commissioner Kelly was actually one of my coaches. So I am, again, Opa-locka. Today, I find myself not being very happy or proud of the city that I grew up in. I walk the city, I take my children to the parks here in the city, and I will tell you that none of them, none of the parks, walking the sidewalk to take my young son to Robert Ingram Elementary, we're constantly finding trash, broken glass. Just, it makes no sense what the city looks like right now. None whatsoever. I'm not sure if any of you on the board, on the city commission, any one of you that actually work here in the city, if you actually take the time to walk the neighborhood, go into the parks, the park itself, if you go onto Shabandi Park right now, if you go out to where the children play in the children's playground, there's no place for them to swing. All the swings have been removed. If you go and you look at the equipment that they're playing on, there's entirely a missing piece from that playground. They can't just go all the way across like other kids go. There's times when we've been there, my granddaughter has come down and said, Grammy, there's somebody has thrown up over there, or there's things like that. These are the things that we are facing as citizens here in the city of Opa-locka. That shouldn't be. Our kids should have to face that. I didn't have to face that. When I grew up here, I didn't have those things. It was a lot better living here in this city. And it shouldn't be that way today. I'm asking you as commission, I'm asking you who worked for the city of Opa-locka to take some pride in the city, walk the city, see what I'm talking about. I mean, I'm not saying, I don't know what the budget says. I can't say that you have the budget to go out there and have 1 million people go out and pick up and clean up and things like that. But I do know that you can ask the state of Florida to keep their area clean. That is the worst area in the entire city. When you walk past there, there's food containers, there's garbage. And that's anytime you go past there, day or night. So if they're not keeping their area clean, it's not because, it's partly because they don't have a reason to. We don't keep the other parts of the city clean. Why do they have to keep theirs?
Ms. Latrice, we hear you. Yes, ma'am.
So please.
Yes, ma'am. We got you.
All right.
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Latrice.
Thank you.
Citizens Forum is still open.
Hello. Hello. Name is Asim
How you doing?
Alabad. I represent Halifax Properties LLC. We own a couple buildings on Alibaba, 1890 and 1900 Alibaba Avenue. Introducing myself, we bought those buildings back in 2017. I've been trying to remodel those buildings since. Problem at the time was always parking. We don't have enough parking spaces. And we recently, I spoke with a zoning supervisor. I think his name is Mr. Gay. And he told me that the mechanical, you have it on the agenda, the 16-1, the mechanical parking. You guys are going to be discussing that today further on this evening. That would be greatly appreciated if it was approved, because the major concern in city of Opa-locka is residential. there's not enough place to live, there's not enough homes, so, and we're trying to do affordable housing there. And obviously, my preference would always be, I don't want to put lifts or anything there, but if I have to, I will. And the preference is always a variance where we could just remodel and begin processing, bringing in new people to live there. So, yeah, that's my main concern. And if you guys would pass it, it's good. Obviously, we need more parking, but a variance will be needed. If I could leave it as is and just remodel it and begin processing the remodeling process, I could have that building, those two buildings up and ready by that, maybe mid next year. So, thank you.
All right, thank you, sir.
Good evening, everyone. Opa-locka family, Alex Van Meckel, 806 Jan Avenue. I want to start by thanking Lourdes, the architect, who has been so patiently and diligently working on the emblem, the icon, as she said, the marketing attraction that has been for nearly 100 years. Of course, that is the Opa-locka Company Administration Building, also known as Historic City Hall. The City Hall, the Chamber of Commerce, an archaeological museum, a film studio, many other functions that building has held in the course of its lifetime since it was constructed in July of 1926. The series of unfortunate events that Lourdes had detailed, a timeline that I'm not as much privy to, but nevertheless, leading us here today is a historic moment to finally get it right and to make sure that that emblem that is on our seal, that these residents speak so fondly of, comes back to Opa-locka and is given back as a gift to the people of Opa-locka, not as a city hall, but as a people's palace, as a place of refuge for people to find inspiration, to attend an event, for my husband and I possibly to get married a second time at, instead of our historic home here. So what I would like to express more than anything is my sincere enthusiasm for what's to come. The fact that there is an accountable and transparent timeline leading up to the finish line that has long been awaited by the residents of this community is going to be much appreciated and much needed for Opa-locka. Because going back to her original point, Glenn Curtis had very much intended on that to be the landmark of inspiration for this beautiful community. It was not our first structure. It was not our first municipal one. That was the fire station, ironically, and where the city was founded and chartered. So that being said, I'm looking forward to having this get done right for the first time in many, many years, and for the People's Palace to be returned to the people as a gift to Opa-locka so that everybody, not just in this region, but across the country can actually bear witness to one of the most extraordinary palaces that are in North America, quite frankly. That being said, I've enjoyed many months since moving here a year and a half ago, doing a lot of research about the city. And I'm pleased to share that on May 1st, Preservation Month, the start of it, discoveropalocka.org launches, and I encourage all of you, Mayor and Commission, to bear witness to it and hopefully learn something new as I have, because that is everything that Opa-locka has to offer in all of its nearly 100 years is a fascinating education for everybody to find some inspiration in. Thank you.
Citizens Forum is still open. Citizens Forum is closed. We're getting ready to go into
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Kelly.
I won't belabor the point. I know
Yes,
the
sir.
excuse me, comments that have been made, and I'll follow up, not to belabor the time, but I do want to address one thing. ADA compliance, not only for that building, but even in here. The second time Mr. Brown has come and got to reach down and hold the mic. So to the manager and staff, let us get a podium, whatever that is accessible, that can be used, because we've put a lot of money in this building. So by the next time we meet, if possible, we don't have that challenge. Okay, I'm being very clear. I'm quite sure it doesn't cost that much, but we need to take care of that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All the other, I know you're trying to move the agenda, so I won't address them now, I'll address them later. But I think,
Yes, sir. As we get ready to go into our consent agenda, Madam Attorney, 13-1.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, approving and authorizing the execution of a limited motor vehicle parking license agreement between the Florida Department of Management Services and the City of Opa-locka for use of 11 parking spaces located within the Regional Service Center parking lot 72, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for an effective date.
Can I get a motion?
move for discussion.
Moved by Commissioner Kelly,
Second.
second by Commissioner Williams. I present the item because it is my item. We actually reached out to the state of Florida for permission for us to utilize the parking lot, the enclosed parking lot north of where we are right now, for our police department that is moving on the first floor, which will free up parking spaces in our west lot for our employees or visitors should they need them. So it gives us an additional 11 free spaces to be used for this building. So that's the item that you see before us with the contract attached. Commissioner
Thank you.
Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate your leadership on the item because I've been talking about parking. I do have a couple of concerns, and just so you know, usually for commission items, I don't really bother the staff because it's our items. So I have a couple of questions. First of all, it's only 11 spaces. I know the area that you're talking about, and I still have the concern that even with the 11, we still don't have an area for our police to park when we, if it passes, the first floor build out. So my first question, is there anything being discussed or as a part of your thought process to try to address that, the rest of the cars? That's number one, because that's 11, but you know, we got quite a few. And I believe that the police department needs their own enclosed area, et cetera. And I've been saying that for a while, and talking to the manager a while back. I know there was some concern, some issue about Chin Medical having all the parking across the street and whether they should, about CDC, et cetera. Heard a lot of floating things, but nothing in concrete. So I want to know any thought given to addressing the other cars, because otherwise they're still going to be all over the place. And from what I was told, we have 30, whatever, 40 vehicles total. So this is 11. The other question I wanted to ask, the legislation does not say police. It just says parking spaces for city-owned vehicles. Was that by design because of the wording the state wanted, or because I want to be very clear, it's supposed to be for police vehicles? That's why we're doing it. So if you could respond or give me a clue on those two things, I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. So as it relates to the number of parking spaces, when we reached out to the state, they only allowed us the 11. So they would not give us any more because they're under the impression that the lot is fully used. And I took pictures, I sent it to them and told them that nobody parks in this lot. And it's usually, it's only maybe like 15% full throughout the day. So what we proposed to him, he said, I'll give you all this for now. Then they're gonna actually come down to see what we see. So we're in conversation to actually increase that number even more. And what they're gonna do is, because you have to use key cards to get in that building, they would not allow us to put police. The only thing that we can put out there is signs that say for police parking only on the 11 spots. So they're gonna provide us with the key cards that will be given to the police individually at the discretion of the police chief and the manager. So who they see fit to park in that lot or how they wanna govern that. Now, as far as what's the next steps? The next steps is to continue that conversation with the state. But the only other parking that we have that's readily close to the police station is the one that's south of us, which is the one right off of, what's it, Alibaba? And the
You're talking about railroad track?
by the railroad
Oh,
track.
okay.
And I believe there's a couple on-street parkings that are parallel to both this building and the state building as well. So we're pretty landlocked as it relates to parking for easy accessibility. So that was the quickest remedy at the moment.
Okay, I appreciate those answers, and I'm glad we're going to continue the conversation. When we get the building open and, the police parking way on the west side, got to come all the way around. And that's why I've been saying, even before we got to this point, what we're going to do with the parking. And in one of my previous meetings a few months ago, the manager had mentioned, as I said earlier, about right across the street, there was some issues of whether they should have all of those parking spaces. So let me do this, Mr. Mayor, to the manager, has that position changed, Mr. Manager? From mayor to the manager.
Yeah, to the mayor, to Commissioner Kelly, the position of as you stated, the position of the administration remains the same.
Which is, because everybody don't know what that is. We had the meeting conversation, everybody was like, what is that position? I don't put words in your mouth, that's what I want you to say.
It is the position of the administration that the city of Opa-locka holds title to that parking space.
Okay, normally the manager's talking real loud, he's quiet down there. But that was my understanding, that there's some dispute of whether we own it or should have access to it versus what's there now. And as I said to the manager, and I'll say it publicly, we need to pursue that. If it's ours or possibly ours, because it makes sense for the police to maybe walk right across the street, even if we put a little walkway path to go into their new building that's down the first floor, than walking from east, west, north, and south. Even the parking you're talking about would still be across Alabama, but then got to pass. So I would ask, I'm going to support the item because it's a start, but I would hope that the administration, the attorney's office, Mr. Mayor, would look at this and come back to us at the next meeting with some kind of recommendation or thought process, because if the state does not allow us to get any more, and we believe that parking area is ours or whatever, even if we get 20 slots out of it, still better. And that makes sense to be right across the street. So I would like to propose that as a part, not the legislation, but I want to put that to my colleagues as really directed to the manager and attorney to work on that as a contingency and support for the parking, and working on it now. And hopefully by the time it gets built out and ready for the police to move in, we're cutting a ribbon to go in, and the parking is way around the corner when it should be in an enclosed area. That's where most cities with their public safety folks are. So I want to just put that on the record, and I don't know if that requires a motion, because if it does, I definitely will move it, but I'm going to use it as directive right now. With my colleagues, I'll hear the rest of their concerns, but I think that's where we ought to move in that direction to address the rest of the parking. But I do support the item. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And Mr. Mayor, if I can just quickly, through the mayor to Commissioner Kelly, what we will need, we're happy to look at that issue. We will need from the manager's office a diagram of what area you're talking about, and the documents that support what the manager is saying, like the deeds, any agreements that are involved, so that we can look at it from a legal standpoint and be able to opine on that. So that's what we will need. I just want to state it publicly. And so if we get those items, we'll be happy to look at it and go from there. So, but we will need that in order to make a determination.
Okay, well, let me just say this, Mr. Mayor. I like to put timeframes, instruction stuff. So to me, y'all got 30 days to come back to the commission with some kind of recommendation. We can move forward, or we discover we can't, to address the parking issue. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
No problem, Commissioner Kelly. Any other discussion on this item? Madam Clerk, we can call the question.
Commissioner Bass? Yes. Vice Mayor Irvin? Yes. Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner Williams?
Yes.
Mayor Taylor?
Yes,
Motion passes 5-0.
thank you. Madam Attorney, 13-2.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, directing the interim city manager to take all necessary steps to process and submit an application to the Miami-Dade County Board of County Commissioners for annexation of areas A and B attached hereto into the municipal boundaries of the City of Opa-locka, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by Mayor Taylor.
Can I get a motion?
Move it.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Kelly, second by Commissioner Williams. This is my item, so I will present it. We've been in conversation with the state, not the state, sorry, the county to actually annex the commercial and industrial area that is south of the city of Opa-locka, which will start, that butts Opa-locka to the south all the way to about, I believe, 107th Street, so south of Miami-Dade College. So the entire area is industrial, so it does not have to go on the ballot during the election time. So it'll be presented before the county commission, and they will make the deciding vote on whether or not Opa-locka can incorporate that industrial area. The reason why I was pushing for the industrial area is, one, to offset the tax base in the city of Opa-locka. More revenue from businesses means less taxes from residents. So it helps with the finances of the city. And the easiest thing to do would be commercial versus residential. So that's this item that you see here tonight. And it was pulled, so I'm assuming there is discussion on this item. So we'd like to start.
Mayor, you look straight down here.
I can actually start if you want, Commissioner Kelly.
Commissioner Williams.
I know. So I'm gonna, just a few things. First, let me just say thank you, Mayor Taylor, for bringing the item, but I do have some concern. So we do know that recently it's all over Channel 10 with the annexation of Brownsville into Hialeah. That also incorporated a feasibility study. Our last feasibility study that happened with the annexation happened in 2011. I don't know the math on that, but I believe that's over 10 years ago. So my concern is also the areas, the zones for the annexation does include, and I know it's being said that it doesn't, but it does include a few residents. So without that feasibility study to ensure that we're not going to be under, but over, the assumption, of course, is that we will make more profit, but there's no documentation. When I look at the item, there's no attachments that tell me that we won't be under, but we will be over in terms of receiving profit from annexation. Again, what I don't want is for us to look like what Hialeah is going through in terms of not getting the word out, not understanding that this will be something that will generate profit. If we can't, of course, go back to a study from 2011 that will show that it would generate profit. Right now is subjective information. There's nothing that shows us that part. So that's my concern about this item, and I'll let my colleagues speak on that.
Okay, so I can answer that question, Commissioner Williams. The one good thing about the area that we are hoping to annex in the city already services that area with our utilities. The only thing that we don't service them is public safety and taxes. So as far as water bill is concerned, they pay the city already. And I didn't understand when you say you didn't know if it was going to be a profit. What is 'cause
So,
adding tax? That's why I maybe.
well, so that's the same thing that Hialeah said, right? So some of their annexation was warehouses that would bring in tax. That's the assumption. However, when they went back to look at that, it actually was top down. It watered down them and it did not give them the profit that they needed. And this is just by doing some more homework and making some calls. I'm saying right now, it's just subjective that we're going to have a tax base. I wish there was, and I can see it in a study, someone actually made, or an engineering company that did the study on this, that said, we're going to actually, this is going to be a profitable venture. That could have been even within an in-house study so that we can know that. That's not in the documentation. So to me, it's just a little subjective, and I just don't want to go to that level and then we find out after the fact that we're actually going to lose out.
And I can tell you the reason why this was a little open-ended is because we spoke to the manager already so that he can directly work with the county on this, instead of us prematurely say that this is what we need, but there are already parameters in place that the county requires for annexation, which is why it says take all necessary steps to submit this to the county. A feasibility study, I guess you're saying an annexation study.
Yes,
So if that's what the county requires, then that's
they
what
do.
then that's what the manager will do. That's why I said take all necessary steps. But if we landlock this to just a feasibility study, but then there would need to be something else, then we have to come back and vote on it again. But if you leave it open, allowing the manager to do what the county directs us to do, and the reason why a lot of those other cities were not successful, and this is from the county, is because they did not work with the county initially. They did their own thing. So that's the idea and the push behind this.
So, and partly you're right. However, I had the annexation, the feasibility study from 2011.
Mhm.
And within that study, it said annexation won't work. So that's why we need to make sure we read even the 2011, although it's outdated. So it's so outdated, there needs to be something, but it's in there, it's in writing, but again, it's not there as a backup here so that we can read through it to know even in what 2011 study said. So I just want to put that out.
Commissioner Kelly, oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Williams, you were finished?
No, I'm done.
Okay.
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let me begin by saying I understand the urgency of the item, but I also, when I saw it, because I had been really waiting to see if anyone was going to bring up annexation. I like going for the industrial because you're right, it's not voters, it's really businesses who can't vote. It is an easier task. We do service a lot of that area. But I guess my concern, since you said you've already had conversation with the county, because in my years of experience and even trying to pursue annexation years ago, the challenge has always been taking the industrial without the residents. And so you leave the county servicing that area, you know, that provides dollars now, that we take the dollars, but they still got to service the area or the people that they use those funds for. So if you've had discussions on that, that's not going to be an issue, then I definitely applaud that. But I want to take this a little step further. And there are studies going to be done. There's going to be money have to be spent. So the first question I have, because in the resolution, the financial impact, it says a budget of 50,000 to cover fees, application studies. And I know with feasibility studies and those things, they can be quite expensive, especially now since annexation and incorporation in some areas even is a major task. How do we come up with the budget of 50,000? Do we come up with that in discussion with the county based on what they told us since we went to them first?
As it relates to the money, Commissioner Kelly, I didn't have that discussion with the county because the county's not gonna do the study. But this, we have to do the study. The Mr. Manager, how do we come up with the 50,000? I'm gonna yield to the manager on this.
To the mayor, thank you, sir. I would request that our budget administrator, who worked on this item for financial impact, be allowed to come to the podium and explain that process.
Good evening, Commission. Bob Edison, Budget. We tried to put a reasonable number in there to get some sense of whether it was going to be a viable number or not. So it was just an estimate based on judgment and past experience.
The judgment of other cities to start the process, comparable size, what would take to get it started? What did you use in terms of judgment to come with that number?
I was involved with the annexation of a portion of Oakland Park some number of years ago, and that to me was a good starting point for that amount of activity.
And that 50,000, that history that you have, that included a feasibility study as a part of that?
No, sir, it did not include a feasibility study per se.
Okay, let me just, Mr. Mayor, my colleague, let me just share where I'm at on this item. I'm for annexation. We're going to pursue it. I like the idea, obviously, of getting the revenue, but I'm concerned that when it's all said and done, taking the money and no people is not going to be doable from a majority of folks in the county. But if you've had those discussions, I can support the item. What I really want to see or would like to see is not just annex of the industrial, but I would like to see people too. And I know that's a hard to sell. I say right in front, I know it's hard to sell. But I think if we don't do something as a city, we are going to be landlocked, to use your term. We are going to be landlocked. I think it's an opportunity, and it was back then, as my colleague mentioned in 2011, although it had a lot of more challenges, especially because of our financial situation. But I think if you look at what's happening, and all of us see it all the time, management can attest to it. Because of our small size, we can't get funding like a lot of other places for our own individual things we like to do, whether it's public housing and other, we got to go through the county, through the state, and then we get what's kind of left. So I want to see us incorporate some people to get us over 50,000. And that's why I kind of like, and I want to ask the question, the last part of the fourth whereas says that we would, and to identify other unincorporated portions of Miami-Dade County that border the city of Opa-locka for potential future annexation. I mean, I'd like to include it now, but it is in there as a part of it. So if I could ask the question, did we have any idea at what areas we were looking at, or was that still open, or was it predicated on previous possible annexation layout?
I can answer that. Commissioner Kelly, I remember a couple, maybe last year, the year before, when I first got elected, we went to a workshop with the city of North Miami, I believe, and they were trying to incorporate up until, they were under an impression, based on what you're saying, they were under the impression that Opa-locka wanted to incorporate south of 135th Street that borders 17th Avenue all the way down, which is the Westview area. Is that the area that you're referring to?
You don't put, no, I want to go all the way to like.
No, it goes all the way, it goes all the way down. It goes all the.
When I finish, we'll have like 80,000 residents, so you don't want me to get started talking about it.
It goes all the way down.
I'm really saying to get over the 50,000 plus one.
Yeah, to get the entitlement.
Because there's been floating numbers of how far, how east to west. I'm just saying, we don't look at that. Since we're going to go through this process, we need to look at that before we do have a situation where everybody's kind of cherry picking pieces and we're kind of not left. So I see that in the last, so that's why I'm asking, is that a part of the thinking? Because if it is, I can support the item because I think we do need to look at other portions.
If the city goes from here to 72nd Street, the city will be an entitlement city, which is straight down 17th Avenue, around North Shore Hospital, all the way down that borders, was it that 10, what you all originally looked at a couple years ago. It would take us, and at that time, it was a little over the entitlement threshold. But I'm sure with the influx of people that have moved in Miami-Dade County, it's gonna be even greater. So we can make that friendly amendment.
I would propose, Mr. Mayor, if we're going to go for annexation, that we not only look at the industrial, because I still believe that the county, all the folks, when they look at it, they're not going to give us the money without people. Because it just wouldn't be, we're gonna get the revenue side. Those folks still have to be serviced in that college area on the, so if you said your conversation with them, I'll support the item, but I want to make sure that that last whereas allows us to look at going further so that we can get over that 50,000 plus one threshold.
Okay.
So if I can get that, assurance that we're going to identify that. And I also think, again, $50,000
We definitely got to up it
is
now.
not going to be enough.
We definitely got to up it.
For something like this, where I have to keep coming back to us, because it's going to take people to do work that I'm quite sure staff is not going to be able to do. It's going to require specialists, it's going to require people that are in this arena. And so I don't want to not have enough money allocated or budgeted for it. I do see in the item, in the fiscal impact, that it's coming out of the general fund. So that's the big part. So I guess that's a lot more availability. But if we're going to pursue it, the only thing I would encourage to do, Mr. Mayor, and to my colleagues, if we're going to pursue it, to put a few more dollars in that particular budget item, that line item, if we're going to go forward. I'll hear my colleagues and then I guess you'll make your comments. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Before Commissioner Bass, Madam Attorney, if to add that amendment in, what would be the language if Commissioner Kelly wants to add the residential portion?
It's already included. He was just saying he wants your intent to be that would be the intent, as I understand what he said, but it's already included.
I just wanted to make it clear. Got it. Commissioner Bass?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have two questions. Commissioner Williams mentioned that the study she read, whoever did it stated that it won't work. I wanted to know who did the study.
Mr.
Anybody
Gay
knows
probably can answer.
who did the study?
Who did
I
the original
didn't hear
study?
the question, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Williams stated that the study that she read stated that the annexation will not work. So I wanted to know who did the study, and I also wanted to know the areas that we're looking at. If we want to get to 50,000 plus one, we are roughly at 16,000. So we're looking roughly about 30,000. Anybody knows the number or the count of the residents in that area that will be able to take us to 50 plus one?
That will be included in the study that Commissioner Kelly just asked for that residential area.
So right now, we don't know, but we're still gonna be voting on it.
We wouldn't know until that study. But either way, even if we voted, we can add the language to add the study to ensure that a study is done. But we still would have to vote to move forward with annexation so that the manager can move forward with it. So if Commissioner Williams is comfortable with just adding the language to ensure that a study is done, I don't mind.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I want to piggyback just what, if you don't mind, I'm so sorry,
No,
Commissioner
go
Bass,
ahead.
if you. I didn't know if you were done. Oh, okay. So just to piggyback that, and I believe that's what I was saying, if residents are included, because in order to be an entitlement city, we have to have the 50 plus one included. And that's where it could, we need to see how far that will go. 100% agree, that will give us more revenue, more funds in order to bring into the city. If we are labeled that entitlement city, I just think that annexing only commercial property and industrial without the 50+1 is a little sticky for me. And I'm just saying, so that really is the part that I would like to see, because just the future annexation with commission approval, maybe we can push that up a little bit more to within that study. Also, I do want to say that it's going to be more than $50,000. I do know, and not that I'm doing Mr. Anathan's job, but it will take a heavy load. It is a heavy load that I can tell you is going to take more than our manager's office or any office that's going to be able to do it. So in order to bring in the firm, generally a contracting firm, to actually do that, it's going to be a big price. So what I would like to see is, before we move to that next level of actually going to the county, so that we know what that price will be before we go to point B. So point A, and then knowing what that feasibility study, everything will be, and then going to the county. Unfortunately, if we pass it tonight, and again, I'm not supporting it, I just want to make sure that I'm clear that that should be our next step into annexing our city. Thank you.
Okay. But I do know, because it is over the threshold, it will have to come back before the commission.
Yes.
Once the manager does, because we have to go through an RFP process to pick the firm. So if that's good with, okay. So Madam Attorney, we got a lot of amendments on the floor.
So what I see with this, Mr. Mayor, is the areas of annexation are the areas that you would want to deal with. So I don't know if there's an Exhibit C that includes other areas that might encompass what at least two commissioners seem to be saying they want to encompass more than just the industrial areas.
So we do Exhibit C, and we can say
yeah, I don't know what an Exhibit
residential
C is,
areas.
but assuming Exhibit C would have some other boundaries that would include residential areas, then that's what I'm hearing. I don't know what these boundaries will look like. That would be something that the manager or his staff would need to explain. So that's how you would deal with that. It's the exhibits that matter here. Right now, you just have exhibits for A and B, which are, these areas that are not including residential areas. But if what I'm hearing, there's at least a couple of commissioners who want to include residential areas, and they want the county to look at, because this is just for, not just, but this is for the manager to take necessary steps, whatever they may be. And you're right, you would have to come back with procurement process or whatever else. But this would allow him to submit an application to the county to look at just certain areas. Right now, it's A and B. So if you want to add a C, and you want that C to be, you want to tell him, you all need to have that discussion about what C would be.
Well, you said it earlier, and so did Commissioner Kelly. The legislation already allows for other areas.
No, it doesn't. The other, what he's saying is that what he was saying is, for the future, he wants to know, he's not trying to stop this legislation. That's what he said. But he said, for the future, he wants to know that your intent is to, and Commissioner Kelly can speak for himself very well, but his intent, from what I heard, his intent is that he wants to make sure that you're going to keep exploring. But he was fine with you going forward with Exhibit A and B. What Commissioner Williams sounds like she's saying is that she would be supportive of it if it included that would get you up to being an entitlement city, get you up to the numbers.
So change the language to A and B to include.
You need another exhibit, because you actually have exhibits that.
You didn't let me finish.
Okay, I'm sorry. Sorry.
Change the language to say A and B to include Exhibit C for entitlement C, something like that. that it's open, so that way the manager can do the study that she requires to say, and because it allows him to bring it back to us for final approval. So he can say, up to this street gives us 50,000 plus, up to this street gives us 70,000 people. So that's as
The better way to do this would be one of two things. One is to have a clean legislation, wait until the next meeting and let him bring back a C so you can see what that C would look like. That's the best way to do it. But if you wanted to go forward with this tonight, knowing that in the future, whether it's the next meeting or some other meeting, that you wanted the residential areas included in what the manager is going to be taking with this application, then you could pass this tonight as it is. But I would not recommend that you pass this tonight and like me craft something and you don't even know what C would look like. I don't think you should do that. I think you should either pass it tonight as it is, and then knowing that he's going to be working on it, which has that has that language in it, as Commissioner Kelly described, and you can keep doing those other things and figure out what C would be, and maybe the manager workshops it or whatever he does. But I would think that you want to do one of those two things that I just described.
Mr. Mayor.
Right.
Commissioner Kelly.
Thank you. What I would suggest, and the only reason I said I could support it is because that fourth whereas said that you would identify other portions, which to me is bringing it to the 50,000 plus one. And I only agree to that language of future because you said you already had discussions with the county and they were amenable to the first part of A and B.
Correct.
Personally, just my history, and I know things have changed, I think we ought to put it all in one and submit it unless there's a time constraint that we put the people in there too at the same time. I'll support if you've had those discussions and they will not object, because otherwise it looks like to me it'll be two separate applications, unless they would allow you to amend this application that you're doing for the annexation. I didn't have the meeting with them, so I don't know how amenable they would be to that, but I do want to see the threshold get over the 50,001, and I believe we're going to have more money in the line item. And I'm not talking about where we're going to do the feasibility study at what point, because once you get into that process, the county has the structure of how you're going to have to lay it out, what's going to be required this date by this time. So all those studies, all those numbers, regardless of which way you go, are going to be laid out. So if it's not a time sensitive, and although I know it is because it's a moving target, what's going on all over the county, I think we ought to come up with Exhibit C or the date, the area. You mentioned, I think 95th Street or going down. I was thinking 54th to get us over. I don't want to be 50,000 plus one. I want to make sure we over. So there's no doubt about it. And again, that's a moving number, because I'm not sure, as you said, a lot of people have moved into the area. So it may not even need to go that far to get over 50,001. So I would, my suggestion is this, Mr. Mayor, unless there's a reason and you've already met with them that we could not defer it to the next meeting, that you defer it and we come back, or allow management to come back as your legislation, however you want to bring it back with the people included in it, wherever that street is. That gets us over 50,001. Again, you had the meeting, so I know their timeframes, but I would suggest that just defer it to the next meeting. You look at, based on your conversation with the county, including people, to get us over the 50,001 threshold. That would be Exhibit C. That would be my suggestion, because I think that that's something we need to do. And there's no sense in trying to do two annexation proposals or things. So that's just my suggestion.
No problem. So it's looking like it's the will of the commission.
What was that, Mr. Mayor? Mr. Mayor, let me help you. I know you want to move the item.
The only reason, this is my sentiments, Mr. Commissioner Kelly, and I think you can put it better and you can help me with it better. It would be easier for the city to do 2 separate applications versus doing one. Because if we do one, then everything has to go on the ballot. But if we do 2 separate, one will go before the county commission and the other one goes on the ballot. So if we lose one, we still have the other. So that's my thought process. That's why I'm saying push. I wanted to push, I was pushing industrial because that goes before, it can be sponsored by the county commissioner who's over that area. She can spearhead it, sponsor it, she can help to pass it. And then submit an additional application for residential, which will go on the 24 ballot. Because if we push it all at one time and the residents vote it down, we've lost everything. That's.
Well, Mr. Mayor, you had the meetings. That's why I said I defer to it because you had the meetings. I just want to make sure that you've had the discussions and it's still going to take more than $50,000. So I can support it because I identify other areas. So if you want to break it up and do 2 separate based on the fact that you met with the county commissioner, I have no problem with that. I'm just saying as we look going forward for our city's future, we need to do that. But I still think even if we're going to pass this as is to go for A and B, I still think we need to allocate a few more dollars in the line item. That's the only thing I'm saying. If you're gonna go with this.
Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Williams?
I'm
sorry, Commissioner Kelly, you would.
Yeah, go ahead. Thank you.
I can't see you, so I'm sorry. No. I didn't see. So it's a conundrum right now, right? So I see both sides. The businesses, the warehouses that district, they're not going to vote, right? So they're not the voters. The voters are the people that actually live in that section C that we're going to, whatever section C that we're looking for. I think I want to know, and I don't know if that would be the attorney, if we separate zone A and B and then C, is that 2 separate studies that we would then have to pay for to know the costs and losses?
I don't know.
Mr. Manager?
That's not something I know.
somebody?
To the mayor, to Commissioner Williams, I do believe that may be 2 separate feasibility studies, but we don't have a definitive answer at this time.
So that's my only thing. So if they're going to vote it up, they're going to vote it up, whether it's if it's package A through C, or if it's package C. It's going to be, and I hear what, no, I hear, that's why I say it's a conundrum. I see both sides, but I don't want to spend that type of money that it could potentially be and nothing comes out of it. Now, something could come out of it, which is zones A and B could potentially come out of it, but that won't give us what we need, which is the, that designation that's going to give us state and federal dollars with that 50+1. So we receive additional tax revenue for zone A and B based off of, warehouse districts. Is that going to completely boost our city pot? Is that going to, make our general fund go boost up another $1 million in a year? We don't know that, of course, until the study comes out. But then it's that zone C, that's that additional state and federal dollars. I don't want to lose that. That's why I'm saying I would like to see it come together. And it's your legislation. I'm just, would like to see it deferred and then milked together a little bit more and then come back. But I'm willing to.
If we go your route, Commissioner Williams, and like you said, milk it together, then we will have to submit the entire thing. So all industrial, but it will have to go on the ballot for the voters. So, but if we keep it separate, then the county commission can vote to give us the industrial area, and the voters can vote to give us their areas. Because in order to incorporate residential, they have to agree to it. But in order to incorporate industrial, the county commission has to agree to it. So, but if we do it all together, then the voters decide whether we get industrial and commercial. So we leave it in the hands of the 50+1. And yeah.
No, I said it's a gamble, and I get it. I understand. You know, and again, but I'm okay with going the way, if that's how you want it. Again, it's your legislation. I just want to make sure that now we pay 50,000 plus, really it's probably gonna be about 100, but okay. To do that annex, that study just for zones A and B. And then we find out we're not going to get the profit that we thought we were going to get. Then we do another additional $100,000. And again, I'm just speculating for zone C, and then the voters turn it down. So that's just, you know, but I'm definitely, you know, in support of it. But I just want to just see the different layers that it could go through.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Kelly.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to put an amendment on the floor instead of the 50 to make it 60. I just my experience of seeing how this works. I don't want the manager, after they get into this, to have to come back to us once they get into this, and the county needs this and that, and you got to move fast. So if we could just add a few more dollars, I'm saying just 10 more to make it 60,000 to the amount. And I guess the manager can tell us if it can afford it out of general fund. If we can't fund balance, that would be my amendment, and pass it based the fact, like you say, you've met with the county commission who's going to push A and B, and then we can definitely look at, and I'm holding you to this, that fourth whereas, to identify the others to get us over that 50,001. That would be my amendment, to add 10,000 more to it. I guess the manager could tell us if we can afford it.
Through the mayor to Commissioner Kelly, yes, we can afford it.
Okay, so Commissioner Kelly, I accept the amendment. And what we would do, Mr. Manager, when we do the study, let's ensure that the study is done to include the residential area to get us to the 50,000+1. So it'll be 3 exhibits. So, and then we'll bring that back to the commission for final approval. Is that okay?
More than that. The 10,000 was really just for A and B.
I wanted to make sure that you.
No, it's just for A and B.
I want to make sure.
That's a whole lot.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot.
That's why I'm not talking about that amount right now, because we need to kind of weigh in to see how far we want to go down as a commission for even commission.
No. I'm not asking them to give us, I'm just asking them to give us a head count. So bring back the head count. So we know that this is where we're going and this is how much, where we need to stop. It's just a head count.
Okay, but I'm just saying the 10,000 I'm referring to is really just for.
Yes, sir.
What the resolution is, because you're gonna need a lot more than that to get to that. That's my amendment, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Madam Attorney, we good? So Madam Clerk, can we call the question?
Vice Mayor Irvin? Yes. Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner Williams?
Yes.
Commissioner Bass? Yes. Mayor Taylor?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Madam Attorney, 13-3.
A resolution of the City Commission. This will be your new item, by the way. A resolution of the City
13-3.
Commission.
No, we pulled number 3 from the consent agenda because of, we
I'm
were gonna
sorry.
vote to keep it open-ended so
So
that
this
you
is-
can negotiate.
This will be 4, right? This would be 3.
It'll be 3.
Right, so, okay. A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, directing the city manager to allocate $50,000 for implementation of a summer youth jobs program with Career Source South Florida pursuant to the terms and conditions set forth in Exhibit A, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by Mayor Taylor.
Can I get a motion? Moved by Vice Mayor,
Second.
second by Commissioner Kelly. This resolution is pretty self-explanatory. Just to use the $50,000 that we allocated for the summer job program and allow Career Source to run the program. But it was pulled because the attorney had some concerns with the identification clause in the thank you, contract.
Yeah, yes, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I don't so much have concerns with the document that you would be passing, but I wanted to bring to your attention that I've been made aware today that the vendor may have concerns about the indemnification clause, but I want to read to you what they have concerns about, and I want to tell you why we would be concerned if they have concerns, because we can't do it. So this is what we, now keep in mind, we are giving $50,000. We're giving money, right? We're not doing any services. We're not performing anything. We're just giving money. But what they want us to sign off on is a clause that would say, the city shall indemnify and hold harmless the Career Source, its officers, employees, agents, service agencies, and instrumentalities from any and all liability, losses, damages, including attorneys' fees and costs of defense, which Career Source and its officers, employees, agents, service agencies, or instrumentalities may incur as a result of any and all claims, demands, suits, causes of action or proceedings of any kind or nature arising out of or relating to or resulting from the performance of this agreement by the city or the city's officers, employees, agents, or servants. The city shall pay all claims and losses of any kind in connection therewith, and shall investigate and defend all claims, suits, and actions of any kind or nature in the name of Career Source where applicable, including appellate proceedings, and shall pay all costs, judgments, and attorney's fees which may issue thereon. Now, this does not even have a limit of liability. We cannot, as a municipality, enter into an agreement where we would indemnify a private entity for in any amount, not even the fact that they don't even have an amount that we're protected by sovereign immunity for, but in any amount, we can't do that. It's illegal. It's against the Constitution. There's case law. There are Attorney General's opinions out there. We cannot do it. So now, if this is something that other municipalities sign, I don't know, but I don't represent other municipalities. I represent Opa-locka. So what I'm saying to you all is that we basically agreed to everything in the agreement. The only thing we did with this agreement was change it to the proper name that it was supposed to be, and that's supported by what your staff gave in the staff analysis and what's supported online. And we added to it the name of the clerk, because you're supposed to have the name per statute of the person who's the public records custodian. And we took out this provision. And that's pretty much it. So I don't know what they would be disagreeing to, but I just want you all to know that if in fact this goes back and this passes tonight, which I expect it would, if they disagree, which Ms. Lawson's told me they disagree with the indemnification clause, we can't, it's not something that we can just absorb or do. If somebody is out there, let's say worst case scenario, molest a child or something's happening crazy and you don't even have any knowledge of it, and all we're doing is giving money, we can't absorb liability for that to the limits of, we can't do that. That's not what municipalities do with private entities. So I just want to put it on the table just so you know, and with that, I'll stop.
So we're going to open up the floor for discussions on this item.
Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Kelly.
He beat me to it.
What one? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I didn't know. I'm sorry.
Okay, man, Chris Williams, trading opportunities, okay. Let me just say, and I'm just saying this to my colleagues, I very seldom, and I won't do it tonight either, go against legal advice on an item. I would rather defer it if you want to, but if you want to pass it because it is your item, Mr. Mayor, we all want jobs for the kids. The item that's before us is the one prepared. And I'm fully prepared to support it. I only had a couple of questions, really. One was on the pre-employment skills portion, what that would look like in terms of for the young people, because I remember years ago when I did that, it was a very important piece that parents were really appreciative of. They were helping the young people understand the importance of jobs and resumes. So I'm assuming that's what that would be about. So I had that question. The other one was, is there a reason why it started 15 and not 14. Is there a legal reason why? And I only ask that because I have, parents, grandparents for that matter, they're teenagers and most of them are not in the parks type after school program. Is there a legal reason why it was starting at 15 as opposed to 14?
This was the document that they gave us other than what I described. So I guess that's their program. I don't
Okay.
know.
All right. I mean, I can just wonder if it was possible to go down to 14, but if it's their program. The other thing, Mr. Mayor, if I could hear from the manager's office, because it was referenced that we just found out today that they have a potential challenge. So if we were to pass it as is, they would be not willing to go forward. Mr. Mayor, to the managers.
Mr. Manager.
To the mayor, to Commissioner Kelly, they did communicate to Ms. Lawson that they would not be executing the agreement that you have before you if it passed this evening. This is the agreement that failed to pass last year as well. And to their concern, it's the same agreement that they execute with Miami Gardens and other cities in the surrounding area.
And I will say through the mayor, I will say that this is not the same agreement that they gave last year. It is not. And there's a different reason why you all did not execute it last year. The agreement came very late. It was almost July. The program was pretty much over and the commission had a concern about that. So I just want to put that on the record.
Madam Attorney, it's the exact same agreement. And the reason, because it was bounced back and forth from us to them.
What I'm saying is, I changed the agreement to similar. But what they gave was not the same agreement. What they gave was not the same agreement. The agreement was changed. This is agreement that is actually a decent agreement that they've given you this time. It's just the only thing is that little provision. Now, I don't know who else signs this.
Also, the city has voted on this agreement in the past. The same agreement when we entered it. Also, what the manager stated, Miami Gardens has done it, and they give Carissos $150,000.
What, Mr. Mayor, you go right ahead. I'm just telling you what the law is. The law is that you can't, as a city, indemnify a private entity. You cannot do that legally. That's what I'm telling you. But if you all want to vote on that.
But this same contract is given to the state of Florida. It's given to the federal government. It's the same.
I doubt if the state of Florida signs this agreement.
They have
but please go ahead. And if you feel like you need to do that, go ahead and vote on it. I'm not telling you. Now, I'm just giving legal advice. That's all I do. I'm just the attorney, right? That's all I do.
Not to quote Commissioner Kelly. Now, I usually don't like to go against the attorney, but in this
do whatever you feel you need to do. But I'm telling you, it is illegal.
Every year, but
okay, that's fine.
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Williams.
not to beat a dead horse. but
Whip
it, please. Go ahead.
Put a whip on it.
This is literally deja vu from last year.
Last year.
Like, this is deja vu. And even after we could not get our summer jobs because of just issues and some things that were going back and forth. I want to move it. I don't want to get and I'm going to quote Commissioner Kelly, I will never go against legal advice, but we have to move this. This indemnity clause is in so many other, including the county.
You all are saying that, but you show me a document where the county has signed an agreement where they indemnify a private entity. I'm just not gonna, look, I respect all of you all, but to pretend like, to sit here and pretend like I'm gonna think that the county would sign an agreement where they indemnify a private entity. I don't believe that's the case, respectfully. But I invite you all to do what you think is best. All I can do is give you my legal advice.
Understood. That's it. I'm actually ready to vote.
Okay, Commissioner Williams called the question. So the only thing, the contract that is before us is not the contract that was submitted to us by the vendor. So we will need to, Madam Attorney, put language saying that we're going to direct you to,
Sir, they don't have a problem with anything else in the contract that is signed, as I understood from Ms. Lawson. They don't have a problem. And what I'm telling you is, I don't think that it is legally sufficient, okay? So I'm telling you that, and I'm putting my advice on the record again, but they're not saying displace our contract with what we gave you. I mean, otherwise there would be no reason for me. I did make the other changes that
that's
are.
literally what the manager said.
Well,
They're not
no,
gonna go
no,
forward. with it.
there's only one issue that they're concerned with, and that's the indemnification clause. I have cleaned up other parts of the contract to make it also legal. You're supposed to put the person who's a public records person. There was another provision. We put the proper name. So it's, you know what I mean? So when you say use their contract, the only issue is that I understand, Ms. Lawson will probably know better because I haven't heard anything from anybody other than a conversation right before this meeting. But the only issue I understand is the indemnification provision. So I'm not recommending that you just use their contract just blindly. It's not even on your agenda. It's not even before you for consideration.
Therein lies the problem, Madam Attorney.
Right. But we don't just sign blindly other people's contracts. That's why you have a legal department, because we review all of this stuff. You get garbage from other vendors. We review everything and we go through it and we then send it back to staff, and they then let us know what they believe they have problems with. And oftentimes we talk to other attorneys and we negotiate provisions, and they come back to you. That's a part of what we do as the legal department. So if you're going in the direction of just substituting whatever they gave us, it didn't even have a name that is a name that's recognized by the Division of Corporations on it. But you don't even have it in front of you for consideration, because we made the change a couple of weeks ago. We sent it to management, and this is the first time we're hearing tonight that there was an issue with it from management. So,
Madam Attorney,
yes, sir.
you've had 5 agenda briefings, and this never came up about changing the contract.
Because I never knew there was an issue with the contract.
But if you had changed the contract, you could have told the commission in the agenda briefing and compared one to the other. That way we would know what you were looking at, but it's not fair to
No,
tell.
we never do. Listen, I'm not gonna stop this because I can see that where this is going, but that's not what we do. We make the change, we send it to staff. Do you know the time that you all would be spending in agenda briefings if it was, let me tell you all the changes I made from garbage
That's
that
not
we
what
might
we're
have
saying.
gotten.
But if you have concerns because you keep throwing out the word, it's illegal.
It
You keep
is.
saying that. So for this one,
you-
I would think as legal, during the agenda briefing, you would tell the commission, listen, this is what I see, this is what you have. And because I think it's illegal, even though other cities do it, I took this
I don't
out
know
and
about
added
I don't know
this.
about the cities that do that. I didn't even know it was an issue. That's not the kind of detail we get into in the agenda briefings. But look, Mr. Mayor, I don't want to have this conversation with my bosses in public. So you all do what you feel you need to do. I can only give you my
We
legal
don't have to have the
advice.
sarcasm, Madam Attorney. That's not necessary. That's not necessary.
So, Mr. Mayor, I'm now confused. So what you're saying is the contract that we're about to vote on
It's not,
is not. So through the mayor to Ms. Lawson, so this particular contract, was there only one issue with this particular contract?
The vendor, the other entity has a problem with the indemnification paragraph being omitted. It's not a part of their standard agreement, so they would like for the indemnification portion to be included in the agreement.
However, everything else they were okay with in this new contract.
And they also said that their agency is South Florida Workforce Investment Board, DBA Career Source, South Florida.
So with that, the backup that I got was for Career Source. It's exactly the backup I got from staff, which is what we use to do the legislation, is exactly what staff gave us. And the backup in your materials, what they printed out from the Division of Corporation, is exactly what we put on the contract. So you know, that's what's on the contract. That's what staff gave us. That's what's in your material.
Okay,
We're just hearing, I'm just hearing that they had a problem with that because we were actually told before the meeting that the only issue was indemnification. So I'm hearing this when you all are hearing it.
This is the issue. The reason why we're pushing for it, because we don't want to end up like we did last year, and which is without a summer job program. And Career Source, we all know that it is a public-private entity. It's not solely a private entity, which is the reason why that identification clause is in there. So if we were to pass the original contract, you said, Madam Manager, that their name, so the one that they presented to the commission at first, that's what they're saying is correct.
Yes,
So
according to them, that's what they're saying is correct. However, some bids reflects the way that it is in the agreement.
Okay, and the only addition to that was Madam Attorney changing the name, taking the identification clause out and adding the clerk as she added the clerk as, she said something, as the records keeper or something like that?
That's correct.
The public records keeper.
Yeah, okay, I'm just gonna be quiet.
So I want to move forward with this. So we gotta move forward with this. Yes, I was gonna do, amend it to put the original contract back in place. And the friendly amendment would be to add the clerk as the records keeper. So that would be my amendment. I don't know what my colleagues are thinking, but that's what I'm saying. To put the contract back in place that they presented to us so that we can move forward with this program. And the only change is to add the city clerk as the records keeper on that contract. Is that okay with the board?
Mr. Mayor, I am very uncomfortable. And I'm saying this because legal is telling us one thing and documentation is saying something else. I'm gonna be the sore thumb in the room. I will not support this item solely because of what our city attorney is advising, because I'm not an attorney and I'm not gonna put the city in a position to be sued. As much as I know that this summer job is needed for our children, but I am not gonna be the one to, for whatever reason, if something go wrong, cause our city to be sued.
Mr. Mayor, we meet again in 2 weeks. Is there any way that we can just hold off? Because I've always been told that make sure you get legal sufficiency. Always, even watching meetings, and our legal is over there saying something totally different. And we pay her for a reason. And 2 weeks, we gonna meet in 2 weeks. It's not gonna be too late for us to kick out the program.
She's not gonna change her position in 2 weeks. I can assure you that. She's dead set on that, 10 toes down.
Can I, if you don't mind, Vice Mayor Irvin, I want to respond. You're correct, but let me say this. It is, if this doesn't, whatever it's going to do, it won't move. Even if we bring it back, I'm sorry, Ms. Bass, Commissioner Bass, even if we bring it back and again, the later, I am telling you, this is exactly what it was last year. And there's going to be two sides, and the two sides they're not going to meet. And I'm not saying they're right or wrong. I totally agree, legal sufficiency, all of that. But the entity in question, that's their contract. They're not going to budge on that. So even if we bring it back and back and back, what's going to end up happening is we're going to lose the time, and we won't get, it'll be a second year in a row that we won't employ our kids. And
Okay.
that's, yeah. So I just wanted to just kind of give you some narrative of what we experienced last year.
Okay, thank you. So let me ask, is Career Source the only company that does this?
So that does it on this level, I can say yes, on this level, that does it with fidelity, that does it. I don't want to put any out, but they do smaller projects. We saw that during COVID. We had a company that did, that took youth, and those youth were more like troubled teens, and they, brought them out in the community. It wasn't what we're looking for in terms of taking our students, taking our kids, I'm so sorry, taking our kids and allowing them to actually make really tangible, good money, which is mostly upwards of about $1,500 by the end of the summer, which is great. There is no other entity that does that part. And I'm only speaking, of course, my day job. We have that. We put out Career Source right now. All of the kids have done their test, because it's a test that they have to take, which is super easy, that aligns. So I'm just confused if it's in Dade County Public Schools, it's in Miami Gardens, it's how is it's so difficult for that same program to come here in Opa-locka? We're not gonna meet. That's why I'm ready to just move on and vote. But I just wanted to explain that part to you.
Okay.
Go ahead, Commissioner Kelly.
I'm just ready for you to vote, however you're gonna vote. I made my position clear, so. And please, I would hope everyone here, everyone listening understands that all of us want to see summer jobs for our young people. That goes without question, whether you vote for the item or not. We all want to see summer jobs for our young people. That's a given. But if we can't wait and nobody else does it, I guess we have to go that way. But I would not, I've been doing this 20 years over. I never go against legal. I've got in trouble, but when I go by what legal says, I'm able to keep my head up. Sometimes legal has been wrong, but I'm going to follow legal advice on this one. And I understand the passion. I wasn't here last year, so y'all have a better perspective on the other contract, the other agreement. I can only go before what's before me, so that's why I can't support it as is. And I think my colleague, Mr. Mayor, I guess you said that it wouldn't change no matter how many times you bring it back because of whatever the challenge was last year. Did you say that? Okay, well, I guess you all have a better experience with it than I do, so. How do you want to do it? Thank
Mr.
you.
Mayor, I do want to just say that if someone were to, and I've invited this to happen, and it always happens in the past, I don't even know why this would be an issue. Generally, what happens is the attorney would call the attorney. There would be a conversation. If what you're saying is accurate in terms of this is a quasi-public entity, maybe that's the difference. And maybe somebody can tell me, hey, we're a quasi-public entity and we are seen and we enjoy it. But even with that, I would say to them, you know what, if that's the case, this indemnification clause does not give a limit for liability, and we enjoy sovereign immunity up to a limit. So this provision that you want us to put in here, that's why I deal with the county all the time in the tri-county areas, and they're sharp, these county attorneys. I cannot imagine they are signing an agreement that lets somebody have unlimited liability against their entity. I cannot imagine that. So, and I'm happy to look at any other documents that you say are out there that this is their standard agreement. I'm happy to look at those. I'm not trying to stop it. I know this community.
But isn't that the difference because it is quasi-governmental?
It could be, but even if that were the case, this provision that they want you to sign does not have a limit of liability. It just, what I read you, it doesn't even limit it to sovereign immunity limits.
No, hold on. I'm gonna do this. We're gonna defer the item. We're going to, because I know that most attorneys are risk averse. So we're going to defer the item, Madam Attorney. You, within the 2 weeks, need to come to a conclusion with that entity and bring it back.
Whoever
Bring
they,
it.
whoever they have, they've
I'm
been
sure you
talking
know,
to, they can
I'm
talk
sure
to
you
me.
know Mr. Rick Beasley, because he's the director. I'm sure you have his personal number.
I
You can-
don't have his personal
I'll
number.
give it to
I
you.
really
I'll
don't
give it
even
to
know
you.
him.
I'll give it to you.
I'm happy to take it.
I'll give it to you. And you work that out with him. Present a contract that is agreed upon so that the commission can move forward. We don't want to keep doing this. And this is what happened last year, even though you said it didn't, but it kept coming and it kept coming and it kept coming.
Last
But-
year, you know, when y'all got this in June and the majority of the commission
No,
was
we
saying, yes,
didn't,
you
Madam-
did.
no, we didn't,
Well, you
Madam
know what?
Attorney.
If Ms. Shameka will tell,
No,
will
we
chime,
didn't. Okay,
if Ms. Shameka
Madam
will
Attorney, it's my
chime in
item.
with me,
Okay,
because we
it's
just
my
talked
item.
about
Madam
this
Attorney,
before the
Madam Attorney,
commission meeting.
Thank you. I'm the chair. My item. We're going to defer the item. We're going to defer the item. You can meet with Mr. Beasley and you all can come up with a contract to be presented back to the commission. And the contract that is agreed upon, that is the contract we want to see. And I'm asking that in those agenda briefings, you explain, okay? So this way we can move forward. It's 9 o'clock. We're on item number 3. We're ready to, let's wrap this up. So I'm making a motion to defer the item. And I know the attorney's gonna say we have to vote on the deference even though, so my motion is to defer the item. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Mayor. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner Bass.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes, sir, to defer.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes,
Motion passes to defer.
okay. Moving on. Item 13.4.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, requiring the city to sponsor all special events associated with the city's annually recognized national holidays. Show that said events are co-hosted by mayor and city commissioners, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for an effective date. And this is sponsored by Commissioner Bass.
Can I get a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Commissioner Williams,
Second.
second by Vice Mayor. Commissioner Bass, this is your item. Please go ahead and introduce it.
Thank you. We had this before us before, but we needed some clarity. My reasoning for bringing this, as I stated before, is that we have national events that are sponsored and hosted by commissioners throughout the year. And after we're no longer here, it falls apart. And I just want some kind of consistencies where our residents know every year this is gonna happen and not have to worry about, not having a public event to attend. Again, I want this event to be sponsored by the city, but co-hosted by mayor and commission. And I would appreciate your support in this one. Thank you.
Okay, this item was pulled. So do we have any discussion on this item?
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Kelly?
thank you. To the sponsor, the fifth whereas, I understand the item, I support the item, as I said before, when it came from the workshop, even with the national days that it's all hosted by the commission, et cetera, as one. I don't have a problem with that, but I still think someone needs to be out front. And I don't see it in the legislation. I know we've all kind of committed to certain things on the calendar, so maybe that will suffice. But my question really goes to the fifth whereas, where it says the best interest of the city to authorize the city administrator to sponsor all special events associated with the city's recognized holidays, jointly show the mayor and commission as co-hosts for said events. I think if we're all going to do it as a whole, it should be sponsored and hosted by the mayor and commission. Because there's a conflict with that and section 2 of the resolution. Because the city's sponsoring, because it's citywide, so it ought to be, the city sponsoring and, as you say, hosted by the mayor and commission. So I'd like to make that friendly amendment so we could, it all
Mr. Mayor,
works the same.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Bass?
Just a little clarification. when I say sponsored, we all know sponsor is the financial part of it. And to host it will be one of us. And like Commissioner Kelly stated before, it's already on the calendar where we chose which one that we will spearhead. So that's why that's not a part of it, because it's already done within our calendar of events. Does that answer your question, Commissioner Kelly?
Well,
Through the mayor?
yeah, I understand that part, but it has the city administrator to sponsor, but in the section 2, it has the city to sponsor, which I thought it was supposed to be the city to sponsor because it's for all of us.
And Mr. Mayor, if I may, where you see city administrator in the fifth whereas clause, I think that was language. This was actually revised. It was language that my office may have left over from the previous resolution. So it should be that the city, the intent of the sponsor, and I'm not speaking for the sponsor, but the intent of the sponsor was that all special events that are associated with the city be co-hosted by the commissioners, but sponsored by the city so that the city can pay for it. And so it wouldn't come out of you all's budget. And so that's what Commissioner Bass wanted to see, that it wouldn't come out of your budget. And that's why you're co-hosting it. So all of your names would go on as co-host, but in terms of the city would actually sponsor it with the financial dollars.
I appreciate, Mr. Mayor. I support that. I support the item. I thought that's what she was saying, but in the whereas it says the city administrator. So
Yes,
you're saying
that should be corrected. That's just left over from when it was changed in a previous version. So it would be really the city, it would be the city to authorize, the city to sponsor all special events and associated with the cities
Okay.
that, yes,
All
sir.
right. Well, that's a typo. Okay, as long as that's correct. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That was on the question.
Okay, so hearing none, we're gonna call the question, or any other concerns for this item? No, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes,
Motion passes 5-0.
okay, Madam Attorney, we are now at,
Number 9.
no. Exactly, 13.
Heat game. A resolution of the city.
Oh, now it's a heat.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, accepting the proposal of Diamante Construction and Development, Inc. for the rehabilitation of historic City Hall pursuant to RFP number 23-0215-100, and further authorizing the interim city manager to enter into an agreement with the Diamante Construction and Development, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $1,452,333, providing for adoption of representations, providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by the interim city manager.
I'm sorry, can I get a motion? Moved by Commissioner Bass,
Second.
second by Vice Mayor, Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is the item that we've already had a lot of discussion about tonight, and a lot of residents coming forward to implore the commission to move this forward. This is something that upon coming on board that my administration picked up. As stated by Lourdes Solera from McHarry Associates, this is something that the city has been working on for going on over 10 years now. And we are really ready, able, and committed to moving this forward. We put forward a RFP and solicited GCs out in the community to give us bids. We had 8 different companies come, and for various reasons, some of them outwardly stating because of the previous history with payment of this item that they were not going to submit bids. We continued on with the bid process with just 2 bids, and this is the winning bid, and we are bringing it forward for your approval so that we can move forward with the restoration of historic City Hall.
Okay, and this item was pulled, so we're gonna open it up for discussion.
Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Kelly.
Thank you. I know we're all excited about historic hall, City Hall being restored and all that good stuff, and I'm excited about it as well. But I want to ask for the manager if he could just prepare the process we use for these kinds of bids, because I did have a concern because you've got basically one company doing 3 major projects, And as I mentioned to staff in my agenda briefing, I had some concerns at the scoring. Because in some cases, the scoring for the other bidder was actually rated higher by some of the scorers. And overall, I did notate the fact that they've done work here for other projects, et cetera, so forth. But that gives me a great concern. So I just want to know how that process works. So if I can get that in writing going forward, that scoring process, because if you just go by the scoring and some of the analysis that's put there by those who scored, it gives me a little concern, especially with this one firm going to be doing basically 3 major projects in the city. But I know we're excited about it, so I'm not going to hold it up because all of us want to see it go forward. But if I can just get that in writing, I would appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Anyone else on this item?
Just, Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner
quick-
Williams?
Quick question, and I definitely want to see the item going. To the manager really quick. I noticed the proposal for another firm was cheaper, but it didn't state in the backup items why we chose this firm over the one that was about 200,000 plus cheaper. And I'm just wondering, like, what was that particular reason why we chose it over the firm that was a little bit cheaper or less, I should say?
To the Commissioner Williams, through the mayor, there were 2 issues that the board presented to me regarding the cheaper offer. One was the extended timeline that they presented, and the second, as reported to me by the board, the members that actually meet with the companies and interview them and ask them questions, is that the cheaper company also stated that it had historic preservation experience. They asked the company to provide documentations of the same of other companies that they'd worked for, and they never got that documentation. And it's that lack of documentation that gave the company, that gave the committee pause with moving forward with them.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner.
I was just content to just not say a word. I really was.
Commissioner Kelly.
But since the door got open, I'm looking at these evaluation forms from folks that evaluated that list the other firm, as my colleague says, has experience, and they got it written in their notes. That's why I asked for the process used on these things, because it's a hodgepodge. And the whole timeline issue is still going to be predicated on permits and things that really is difficult to control. I hope we're finished by October, whatever the date, but I'm challenged by that. And that's one reason why I asked for that process of how we use it, to that same point. But let's get City Hall done. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
No problem. So we're going to call the question, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay. We're moving on. What happened? Oh, we're moving on to 16A1. And I believe, this is not the one that was substituted, right?
No, it's not.
Okay.
That's 2.
All right, 16A1.
Yes, sir. An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, adopting a text amendment to the Land Development Regulations Ordinance 15-31 to permit tandem or mechanical parking for multi-family development in the R2 through R4 zoning districts, providing for conflict and repealer, providing for severability, providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by the interim city manager.
Can I get a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Commissioner Williams, second by Vice Mayor. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this item is one of the items that, as a result of coming on board as your interim city manager and finding that we had projects in the hopper that had both tandem parking and mechanical parking, but we did not have legislation that authorized me to allow those projects to move forward, which is the purpose of why I directed our Community Development Director, Mr. Gregory Gay, to host a workshop to get feedback from the commission regarding opinion on mechanical parking and tandem parking, and also allow the community to weigh in and experts to provide their opinions on these things. Finding favorability with moving this forward, so long as there's no reduction on the parking requirements, which here there are none. We are bringing this item for your approval so that those projects in the hopper can recommence construction and move forward.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Manager on this item? Oh, I am so sorry. This is a public hearing item. Public hearing is open. Hearing none, seeing none, public hearing is closed. Do we have any questions or concerns to the manager about this item?
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Kelly?
I like the idea of having housing. I like the idea of housing. I love the idea of housing, but I'm still challenged because this land development amendment is not only going to be for that area or that development, but we're opening it up for anything or any development in R2 through R4 zoning district. And so I'm really concerned when you open up that door, what's going to occur. We heard the presentation, got the backup. I understand the project is wonderful in terms of housing. I'm still kind of concerned of affordability, because I did hear that they're getting some funding. My challenge is trying to separate that project really from this amendment, because once we pass this, it opens up the door for a lot of different things. And so, Madam Attorney, I need some direction so I don't go too far, because this amendment really just deals with mechanical parking for multifamily development and not the other issue. But if we open this up, and I guess maybe, Mr. Mayor, to the manager and staff, this now would be possible for anyone coming into the city that wanted to do multifamily development to take advantage of. And exactly what area does the R2 through R4 zoning covers? If I can get those questions answered, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To answer what areas are covered by those zones, I'm going to call forth our Community Development Director, Mr. Gregory Gay.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, Gregory Gay, Director of Planning and Community Development. The R2 and R4 and R3 areas are pretty much the areas where you have a variety of housing. Most of it is composed of duplex, and it varies into garden style apartments and some medium density residential. So that is something that is not just germane to one area of the city, but it's pretty much spread out through the entire city.
Okay, and that's kind of my concern, because passing this land amendment, well, now anyone coming in would probably look at tandem parking, or whatever you want to call it, mechanical parking, as the solution.
It would be considered as one of the options if they cannot make that particular type of, because of the land mass size. If it's somewhat restricted, they would have other options to meet their parking requirements.
Okay. I'm looking down the road, and what I'm seeing is nice building, supposed to be affordable housing, ownership, 2 cars going in there, and we've seen the demonstration. But I got 3 cars, number 1. Number 2, I don't get there in time. I don't want to come move mine, so I'm looking for where to park now. Somewhere else was going to be all street outside. And the fact that this legislation now is going to become really citywide, almost what you're saying, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, that's kind of my challenge, because when I look at this particular legislation and talking about mechanical parking, it's really designed just for quote unquote, the number of cars that is developed. In many cases, 2. It could be more depending upon how many units, but let's say 2. It will be designed for just those 2 vehicles. So if you have a guest, there's no parking based on how this works or this land development amendment works for extra parking within that multifamily development.
Within most multifamily developments, it takes in consideration the number of units and what type of units are being proposed as a part of that development. And there are instances where visitors parking is also allowed for those particular developments. That's not a majority of the numbers, but it's a small percentage. So that it will cover that particular type of parking that is needed as well.
Okay.
And in some cases, it would be the on-street parking that would be utilized for that.
Okay, I guess the concern I have is when we open this door, it's gonna be very hard to close. It's gonna be very hard to close once we open up because you're really talking citywide. Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else for Mr. Gay?
Mr. Mayor, quick question
Commissioner Williams?
to the mayor, Mr. Gay. Does mechanical and tandem parking help alleviate some of the parking issues that the city has at present? Will it, in your opinion?
For the problems that we have for residential parking,
Yes.
it will most likely alleviate some of those problems because right now you do have 1 or 2 projects that have had the opportunity for a reduction in parking. So they're not meeting the parking needs. If this legislation was to pass, we could possibly go back to those particular developers and see if they will be able to utilize this as an alternative to provide additional parking on their properties.
Okay, so, and I asked only because if it's going to do that, we know that past legislation and zones and on and on and on have allowed what we have, what we see right now. And that was not a problem then. So I'm not sure why it's a problem now. I'm actually, want to make sure that what we do now is going to, again, for the future, alleviate what occurred in terms of how parking is happening. So if that's going to alleviate, then I'm all for it. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for the manager or Mr. Gay? Hearing none, we're gonna call the question, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
No,
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-1 first reading.
All right, Madam Attorney, 16A2.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, amending Chapter 2, Article 2 entitled City Commission, Section 2-31 entitled Per Diem of the City of Opa-locka's Code of Ordinances to increase subsistence allowances for Class A and B travelers pursuant to 112.061 Florida statutes, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for severability, providing for conflict and repealer, providing for scrivener's errors, providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by Commissioner Bass.
Can I get a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Commissioner Williams. Second? You're gonna, okay, you're gonna second? Second by Commissioner Bass. Commissioner Bass, is this your item? Go ahead. and
Thank
present.
you. Thank you so much. It's very simple. The per diem for overnight travel, as it is right now, it was voted in 2005. And everybody knows that the cost of living, cost of food has gone up tremendously. So what I'm simply asking that instead of having $10 for breakfast, it goes to 20. Lunch, instead of $10, it goes to 30. And dinner from 30 to 50. And this is for overnight out of town travels only. And I would love to have your support.
Okay, this is a public hearing item. Public hearing is open. Public hearing is closed. Any discussion on this item? Hearing, is that who? Vice Mayor. You gotta turn your mic on.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor to Commissioner Bass, that's $30 for lunch?
Yes,
Mine wouldn't come up.
$20 for breakfast, $30. It's on your the new, right here. I'm sorry.
I figured that. I was in front.
You still have the.
It's okay. Oh.
Okay, all right, so hearing none, we're gonna call the question.
Wow, okay.
Commissioner Gay.
Y'all are so quiet on this legislation. Y'all just so.
Commissioner Kelly.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, I don't have I understand what you're saying, Commissioner Bass. However, I don't spend $20 for breakfast.
It's you.
That's why,
That is you.
and I just thought it was a tad bit much. Just a tad bit of putting the extra coins for breakfast for my taxpayer. I don't know. But I get the intent. I get the intent, but
Let's go on this and move on, please.
Miss-
Vice
Yes,
Mayor.
ma'am.
If I can,
Mhm.
if we can leave breakfast at $10 and maybe. I don't want to make this an all night thing. Even lunch for $30 is a bit much.
Yeah, it's really astronomical.
I don't know where y'all eat
Can I-
at.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Mayor, I don't
eat
know
at
if everybody
Chili's,
bought.
3 for 10.
I don't know if everybody's, let me, I mean, I'm
I'm a
at,
Chili's man. 2 for 25 at Applebee's.
Mr. Mayor. I think what, I'm gonna say, we have to, as a board, let's stop selling ourselves short. And I hear what you're saying, you don't have to, it's up to. You don't have to, you can still go and get your 2 for 2 and 4 for 4.
Oh, she know
And
all
you
the
don't,
sales.
and you turn in that
We
receipt.
indeed-
You turn in that receipt. But if I believe as a commission, if I want to go to Cracker, I don't know, whatever, I'm saying Cheesecake Factory for lunch, I should have the option to make that decision. But I just want us to limit why are we, don't sell yourself so short, because I'm sorry, we gotta be honest, we don't get much anyway, for doing what we do. So let's just, that's all I'm saying, but you don't have to use all of it.
I want to hear from Commissioner Kelly.
It's 10 o'clock.
What happened?
We want to hear from you. You don't want quiet.
You don't
over
want
here.
quiet. You don't want me being quiet. You quiet.
Let me just ask a question. So it's part of per diem. So that would be that's part of the check you get in advance. I mean, when you go out of town, correct? Mayor, to the manager, clerk,
It is.
that would be part of the legislation. It will now be part of per diem check. So it'll be calculated based on wherever you're going in number of days. So it'll be part of per diem check. I'm assuming somebody. Anybody?
That's correct.
Okay,
That is correct.
okay. It is, I see both sides, but I think if it's budgeted, it's gonna come out of where, you know, your line item, what have you. You can always not take it. I know how the perception would be that, you know, the commissioner's also passing something for them to eat or whatever, but if we're honest, things are expensive when you travel. So, you know, I'll I understand both sides, but I can support the item because when you are traveling, some places you can find $10, other places you can't. And I'll be honest with you, we're really honest now. We're trying to be nice with it. If you eat many times in the hotel of a meeting or conference, you're going to spend, you know, more than 30 even now. And I'm just going over the years. And I remember when it was $25. So I don't have a problem with it. I can support the item. Might catch a little flack. It just means you go out of town, make sure you bringing something back to show the voters you earned that breakfast and lunch. But I can support it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, we gonna call the question. But Commissioner Bass taking all this to Cracker Barrel on Saturday.
What? It was $69.
Call the question.
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0 first
Thank
reading.
you.
Madam Attorney, 16B1.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, amending the annual adopted general proprietary and special revenue funds budgets for the fiscal year commencing October 1, 2022 and ending September 30, 2023, adjusting revenues and expenditures as reflected in Exhibit A, providing for expenditure of funds established by the budget, authorizing the city manager to take certain actions, providing for appropriation of all budgets and expenditures, providing for fees consistent with the appropriations and amendment, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for conflict and repealer, providing for severability, providing for an effective date. The first reading and public hearing was held on April the 12th, and this is sponsored by the interim city manager.
Mr. Manager, I'm sorry, can I get a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Vice Mayor. Second by Commissioner Bass. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is the second reading of this budget amendment. As you all are aware, according to our charter, that all of the changes to bring our budgets in the line have to be brought to the commission for review and cannot be done from an administrative standpoint. So we are bringing this third budget amendment to you for your review and approval in order to get our budgets in lines to increase those line items where there may not be substantial and to bring down those line items where there might be some overspending. I have our Director of Budget and Administration, Mr. Bob Anathan, prepared to go through this item if you have any additional questions.
Any questions for Mr. Anathan? Any questions on this for Mr. Anathan before we vote? Okay, Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk, call the question.
Yes, sir. I apologize.
That's okay.
Commissioner Bass?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner Williams?
Yes.
Mayor Taylor?
Yes,
Motion passes 5-0.
okay, we are almost to the finish line. We're gonna go with our manager's report.
No report at this time, Mayor.
Okay, any questions for the manager at this time?
Mr. Mayor, I do. I guess I'm going to be kind of setting the record straight a little bit. So everybody knows that when I ran for office, my color was pink. And on occasion, so when I was putting up posters, I was like, I'm going to paint the town pink. So with that being said,
You painted Shabani Village?
no, that's why I'm clarifying. Because my granddaughter was visiting me this weekend and she said, oh, Grammy, you painted that building pink? And I was like, no, baby. I said, I don't make those kind of decisions. She said, but you make all the decisions. No, I don't. Then I had a resident to say, when you said you was gonna paint the town pink, you really meant that you were gonna paint the town pink. So for the record, I'm stating that Natasha Urban, the vice mayor of the city of Opa-locka, had absolutely nothing to do with our park so far too, being colored pink. For the record.
But it is growing on me. It is growing on me. I will say that because at first, but it's growing on me.
I don't have that kind of power.
You
More
can
of
see
a
it a mile away.
Pepto-Bismol pink.
Yes.
But it's a beautiful, it stands out, Vice Mayor, your Shabundy Village.
I see it every day.
Any other records we gonna set straight?
Mr.
Commissioner Kelly.
Mayor, a few things. I don't want to be lost on Citizens Forum, the concerns raised by citizens that apply to administrative challenges or concerns. So we can get those responded to and given to us so that we can respond to residents as well, those that apply from the Citizens Forum. I know you were trying to move the meeting because we had a long agenda, so I didn't interrupt on each one, but I don't want that to be lost. When residents take the time to come to a meeting to voice their concerns, we need to make sure we address them. And that brings me to the point. I asked for some things and information from the last meeting and haven't received it yet, Mr. Manager. And I did it in deference to time, and I gave them, I haven't heard anything regarding those concerns. One dealt with the process with the PR firm, things getting on our sites, how we deal with the issue of selecting picture taking and the person that does that, and I hadn't heard anything about it. When I ask for information, I expect to get information answered. If you can't get it answered in a timely manner, let me know if there's something going on. But I don't just ask for stuff just to ask. I ask to get responses because I have to answer to residents and to this community. So I'm not going to say that anymore. I'm going to leave it right there because from now on, Mr. Mayor, if I don't get them, I'll go one by one during the meeting and take all the time. So I'm going to put that out there. I want to also, and I wasn't aware of it till I had my briefing, that we have some PSA folks. We have two of them. I guess we got one now. So I want to know what hours they work. And I want to know when are they out there? And I bring it up because we still having the issues of traffic enforcement, especially at night, cars parking, different places. So we got two PSAs that we're paying for PSA. I don't know what hours they're working. I was told in the briefing that one is doing red light cameras and one was not there, but they've been there for now 4 months and that they're driving an unmarked car. If you're a PSA, I don't know how you're driving an unmarked car. You should be out where people can really see you. So I want to know, get clarity on that. And I also want to get an update on the property development we passed a few months ago on 22nd Avenue, Service Road, the car wash, the old Thompson property. What's the progress on that new development? Because I know we passed it a few months ago. And I also, and I guess to the clerk, attorney, and the manager, whatever the process, let me know. I want to get a copy of the special master proceedings. I've had some residents that have reached out. I don't come to those settings. I know the vice mayor went one time, but I needed a copy of the video so I can look at that as well. Because I have some businesses reach out that feel like things are not like they should be. But I always like to see for myself before I comment. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will leave the other things under my report. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? No, for the questions or concerns for the manager.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I'm not sure if we can do this or we have to have the same application. As I spoke to the city manager and Mr. Delaney about the application and how, I don't know if any of my colleagues looked at those applications for rental assistance and mortgage assistance. They're hilarious. Is there a way, because Ms. Alexander is going to run me over with her car, is there a way, because I spoke to him on April 17th, and he said they were gonna make the adjustments in the application, and it would be ready by the 17th. I told him to take to by the 19th, I told him to take to the 20th. And then I think he called me on the 21st. Either way, we're on the 26th and I haven't heard anything. And Miss Alexander calls me and visits me every day because she needs the mortgage assistance. But can the city of Opa-locka maybe assist the CRA, I don't know, with getting that application corrected, or I don't know what word I'm looking for, but to make it make sense to people that are trying to fill out for the information.
Through the mayor to Vice Mayor Irvin, yes, we did. The administration met with Mr. Delane regarding your changes and simplifying the application as a whole. I will circle back with him to see that that is moving forward and follow up with you to give you a new due date when we can expect to have that completed.
Okay, also, someone, I think it was Commissioner Dominguez said that the white bus is leaking. And that's our newest bus for the seniors program, to my knowledge. Did we get like some extended warranty or something? Because it's not that old.
That's actually our only bus for the senior program, and we purchased that bus used. But I have already directed Mrs. Zanya Ray, our Parks Administrator, to review that item and give us a follow-up.
Okay. I think that was my only question to the manager.
Yeah. To the mayor?
Mr. Manager.
So to respond to the rest of the items, as Commissioner Kelly requested from the Citizens Forum, from Ms. Taranji Mitchell regarding the Explorers Program. The Explorers Program is not actually a City of Opa-locka funded program. That is being funded by the Boys and Girls Club of Boy Scouts program. Chief Scott Israel is in direct communication with them regarding that program and to secure that funding and get that program up and running. And we are working on that expeditiously as possible to get that moving. To Mr. Felton Brown's comment regarding ADA accommodations, absolutely, Historic City Hall is being rehabilitated with as compliance as much as possible with ADA accommodations. Unfortunately, the structure on the third floor would not allow ADA access without completely destroying the third floor. So we will be able to make some special accommodations for the first floor, the second floor, but unfortunately, the third floor will not have those accommodations. I've already addressed the comments from Ms. Dominguez regarding the water on the bus. Latrice for the comments for Latrice Franklin. I've already had a conversation, a text message conversation with Mr. King Leonard regarding the park ground areas and also Ms. Zanya Ray to kind of review those to make sure that they're always clean and tidy. To respond to Commissioner Kelly regarding the process for photography services. We spent several months trying to find a photographer that would work with the City of Opa-locka regarding the fact that we're under financial oversight. All the photographers that we met with wanted to get paid immediately. And this photographer was actually referred to us by two different sources who she communicated that she would be willing to go through the payment process through state oversight and receive payment within 30 days. All the other photographers that we met with and spoke with, which is why it took us so long to get a photographer, were unwilling to continue with that process. We will review the car wash as requested by Commissioner Kelly and provide any videos that are online that he requests for dates for special magistrate meetings. I'll now turn the floor over to Assistant City Manager Shameka Lawson regarding the hours of the PSA.
The city has 2 budgeted positions for PSA. However, one position is vacant and the hours are Monday through Friday from 8 to 5.
I won't take up time tonight. I'll follow up with a meeting with the manager on that issue. Thank you for those responses. I'll also speak to you about the camera process, because my question was how it's done. How do you contact them? How are they notified? How do we know when the pictures are coming? It wasn't just how you came to that. So if I can get that in black and white, then I'll follow up. But thank you for the responses that you gave. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
No problem. All my concerns were answered, except I just want to know the update on the scholarship program for the city. Because it was supposed to be, you all were supposed to create a program in 30 days, and it's been over 30 days and people are starting to graduate. And they're also starting to call, asking, how do we apply for their scholarship money? What happened? What happened? Oh.
So the scholarship program is almost completed. We have to do some edits to the application process, the actual form, not the policies and procedures, and we should have that by the next commission meeting.
All righty, thank you. So any other questions for the city manager? Hearing none, seeing none, we're going to our official board reports. And we have a board report.
Mr. Dennis.
Mr. Chairman, Brian Dennis. Turn the mic on.
Y'all do this, I know. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Brian Dennis, address 2140 York Street. I'm bringing your board report. We would like for you all to attend the meetings. We did have a discussion about the last item that came up for agenda, about the $500,000, and we decided that we wanted to bring it up and have that money spread it out. Like to thank the manager for coming to our meeting. He said that there was a line item for $50,000 for the Arabian Nights. So one of the things that we want to do as the board is to hurry up and try to finalize that with a date for the Arabian Nights Festival for next year, so that you all could get the credit that you all deserve for bringing back the festival. That is what we're actually working on. We also have different park events and programs for the seniors that is coming up, but we really would like for you all to come to the meetings and participate. And again, Mr. Manager, I really appreciate you coming to our meeting and for your input. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor. Oh. You're welcome. Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Williams.
Oh. I just had a quick question. That last meeting, it wasn't recorded. It wasn't on Zoom. Is there any particular reason why that meeting? Was it noticed? Was it? So can somebody?
Mr. Manager.
Mr. Manager?
Well, since the Assistant City Manager, Ms. Lawson, refuses to answer this question, it's my understanding that it was an IT issue that we're looking into, and we're going to have that conversation. But I do not believe that it was recorded unless we have some records that we can review and get that up on our city website.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
And one additional question, Mr. Mayor, to the clerk. Two I don't know, young adults told me that the application for the advisory board is not online.
Mr. Mayor? Can I
No,
respond?
sure.
Yes, so the application, we're in the process of reviewing the current application to include that board as well. And it should go out, I would say, Oh, we actually posted it today, so it's on there as of today.
As of today? Okay,
Yes,
I'll
yeah.
let them know.
So it wasn't on there previously.
Yes,
All we had to
uh-huh.
do was update it to include the additional board as an option.
Okay,
And we have done that, so it's now available on the city's website.
perfect. Okay, I'll let them know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so there's no other board reports. We're going into the mayor and commission report, and we'll start right to left. Go ahead, Commissioner Kelly.
Go ahead, Commissioner Kelly, sure. Thank you. I want to begin by, I'll let Commissioner Bass do that one. Okay. The Ingham Park cleanup on this Saturday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Want the community to come out. My colleagues who are not busy can come by. We want to get Ingham Park open. I've been talking about it since I came back, and we are going to have a community cleanup, invite the community out to help us as we spruce up the park. I want to thank the manager and Ms. Lawson and Mr. King for all their help in getting us to this point. If you've ridden by Ingham Park, I've been down there lately. It's been, especially down the Gazebo Park. So I want to thank them for their efforts in getting us this far. We're working, I know, to get the trailer there for staff. But anyone and everyone, please come out this Saturday. Our goal is still to get the park open before the summer by the first week in June. So I want to again thank the staff for the effort of getting us to this point. And please come out and support that 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. on this Saturday at Ingham Park. We of course had our Feeding South Florida last Friday. As always, thank my co-hosts and the community as we on the east side of town, third Friday, and of course, Shabandi Pavilion on the first Wednesday. I did reach out to the Elderly Planning Division, as was mentioned by a couple of residents at the last meeting, about the services they offer and provide. So I'll be doing a follow-up on that. I also want to just mention, and I know that the city has a current program, Mr. Manager. I'm quite sure it's during the summer. I went back and looked at the legislation where the current provider does swimming lessons. And I know they are at the park certain hours, certain days. And a part of their agreement is to teach swimming lessons to our camp kids. But as I spoke to Dr. McKinney, after you all do your analysis, Mr. Manager, for the summer, for kids, if we don't have any available more slots, please let me know. I want to make sure no child, no teenager, under 18, whatever, and even adults for that matter, does not have an opportunity to learn how to swim. I was so moved, and I've seen it happen, but you know, it really hit another level with the two young men that just drowned recently. Just looking at those pictures. And so if there are kids in Opa-locka that can't swim, I want to make sure that they have an opportunity to learn how to swim. She, of course, is amenable to it. But like I said, I know we have an agreement already for a number of slots, but if it can't be accomplished within the confines of the camp program and requires additional hours or timeframes that is not budgeted, then I'm going to take it out of my line item, because I don't want any kid in Opa-locka that can't swim not have an opportunity to learn how to swim during this summer. And really not just kids, but adults. So after you have your staff to look at the analysis or whatever, if it requires additional dollars, I will take some out of my line item, because I want every kid that does not know how to swim to have an opportunity to learn how to swim during this summer at our pool. That concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Well, I'll be at the swimming lessons, Commissioner Kelly. I don't know how to swim. Vice Mayor, I surely do not. I said I'll be at the swimming lessons.
I did have some adults, but I want to start with the kids.
Right.
And I looked at the agreement. We do have one with them for kids, but it's designed for the kids in the summer camp. and they may not be a part of the camp. So I want to make sure we reach out to every one that we can. If they can't swim, I've already committed. I told Dr. McKinney, I'll take my line item to have the lifeguards. And I know we got a lifeguard in the city, but I know they're partly committed to the camp, so whatever. I just don't want any kid that can't swim. So we'll make an exception for you, Mr. Mayor. You
I'll be there.
If I may, I remember when this program came about, I don't think they had to be in camp. It's just we get 100 free kids to get.
No, I read the
swimming.
legislation, but what I'm
Yes.
saying, I don't know what the numbers for the camp is going to be. So
Okay.
that's why I'm asking the manager when they do the analysis, if it goes over, then I will sponsor those or whatever the process. And if they can't be done within their camp hours, because there might be too many kids and requires an afternoon, but you got to bring somebody back, I'll pay for that. I just don't want any kid left out that doesn't know how to swim. And, you know, depending on her time, she can do adults too, but definitely kids. So once they let me know, you know, come back with that. Thank you.
No problem. Vice Mayor?
Okay, thank you so much. Unfortunately, I'm going to miss the cleanup this Saturday. I'm going to be out of town. And I want to give kudos to, I'm going to give kudos to our K-9 officer. I'm so sorry, I don't know his name.
Officer Riveron.
That one, yes. His quick thinking and him not minding getting his hands dirty actually saved one of our houses on Dunad. There was an outside fire and he actually got the water hose and actually put the water hose out. It was a pretty big fire, but he managed to put it out. Kudos to him. I appreciate it very much. Also, today I had the pleasure of going over with the seniors. They did a cake decorating class. Interesting. It was a nice event that they did. Also, I would like to thank the manager's office, the police department, Park and Rec, whoever had anything to do with the homegoing services of Mrs. Dottie, our own, the Honorable Vice Mayor Dottie Johnson. Her everything was just beautiful. Sad occasion, but everything turned out just well. Opa-locka did a nice job. I only had one complaint, and I talked to the clerk about it already. Right before we gave our sympathy, proclamation of sympathy, the city of North Miami had a beautiful frame. It was beautifully framed. And we showed up with our $2 frame. That was my only problem.
I'm sorry. Our frame was better. Keep going.
It was a beautiful wooden, nice frame. But anyway, maybe we could, going forward, I would chip in to get a nicer frame for someone who have done so much for our city. Finish with that. Okay. As you all know, I love to celebrate stuff. And the city of Opa-locka, we are getting ready for our 97th birthday party. Parties, festivities. And I'm just suggesting to everybody to save the date for the bingo, which is May 19th. And then that Saturday, we're going to do a pool party that's really more than a pool party, bounce houses, water slides. It's gonna be a festival, hopefully. So save the date for that. And that night we're doing karaoke. So save time for that. And I'll let the mayor talk about May 21st. That's the gospel in the park.
You got it.
You know, no, you got it.
You got it all. You're right.
No,
Gospel in the park.
you got
We're
that.
doing it together.
You know, I go to Bedside Baptist, so I don't know if I can help you with that one. So if you all could save the date for that, and I'm looking forward to us celebrating our 97 years of history. Commissioner Kelly, our 97 years of history. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'm gonna go quickly. I just want to take a moment to invite our community out to National Day of Prayer, sponsored by myself and Commissioner Kelly. While he was on his sabbatical, I took it over and he's back with us. So I thought it would be robbery for me not to do this with him. So again, National Day of Prayer on the corner of Sheridan and the Butterfly Garden, May 4th at 12 o'clock, and you all are more than welcome to attend. Thank you.
Commissioner Williams.
All right, really quick. I want to thank everyone, so many people that supported Earth Day Block Party. I want to give a special shout out to our aide Maya. She is absolutely amazing and did so much to make it happen. So I want to make sure she knows that. Tia Justafine, Home Depot, Dixon Nursery, South Florida Black Gardeners, et cetera, et cetera. I'm looking forward to an Earth Day activity block party every year. May 13th, our third annual Women of Many Hats. This will be a brunch. I'm excited. Anything dealing with, no offense, women, always makes me happy. So please, you're invited here. Well, no, not here, but Asher Bundy Village, 11:30 to 1:30. And I wanted to let Commissioner Kelly know that for the cleanup, I will be a little late. Jalen has basketball. However, I have reached out to the top ladies of distinction will be there to support, as well as the top teams of America. So they will be there to support that. And just to make sure that we're clear, the statement was said that, sometimes we don't attend events. And I want to be clear because that's how rumors start. We support each other. And sometimes we're out of town and sometimes we have things to do and we have lives. So this board completely 100% support our events, support each other. There is no, beef or whatever this, so I want to be clear that is not the case, and let's not start any rumors like that. And I want to say, Vice Mayor Irvin, Jalen is ready for y'all on the pool party. He is ready. I'm ready. And I will have my bathing suit. Yes, I said it. And I'm gonna be in the pool and I'm gonna show the mayor how to swim. Okay, thank you so much. Oh, and karaoke. I'm gonna sleep the night before so that I'm ready for the whole day.
Commissioner Bass want to get some of the swimming lessons too.
Okay, we're not gonna belabor the time. So, Mr. Manager, normally we do the oversight update. So for tonight, we'll omit that, but I will say that as a board, we need to decide on the 3 people that we're going to appoint to the oversight board. The Senator's office has already appointed somebody. District 2 has already appointed somebody, and our state rep says she'll have the name by this week. So we're pretty much just waiting on the city of Opa-locka so that they can know what's in the play. Also, I just want to piggyback on what Vice Mayor said. Kudos to the chief for Saturday. You all look good, did a great job, and I love the partnership. I love, Chief, the partnership and the collaborations between our neighboring cities, and that was a great look for Opa-locka. And the fact that you all worked in tandem together to lay Vice Mayor Johnson to rest. So kudos again, like Vice Mayor said, on that. Other than that, do we have any board appointments?
No, Mr. Mayor.
No board appointments. So can I get a motion? Oh, I'm sorry. Before we adjourn, really quick, and I just want to shout out Mr. Anathan. His birthday was yesterday. So we want You know, Mr. Anderson sometimes is the first to be in the building, the last to leave. So we just want to tell Mr. Anderson that we appreciate you for the job well done and the hard work and dedication that you have to the city. And also, we want to keep in prayer Mr. Lee from our building department for the passing of his.
Community development.
Community development, I'm so sorry. Community Development Department on the passing of his mother. So let's keep his family in prayer. Let's reach out to him and give our condolences. Other than that, can we get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Say, nobody want, this is why you need Burke here. Burke with a, this meeting is adjourned.